There we go. And we're live. All right. All right. Here we go. Wow, guys. Welcome to Wednesday afternoon cinema. We're going to be talking about films while I go through puberty for a third time. That's my best Michael J. Fox, actually. Well, happy Wednesday. Happy hump day. Humpity hump, hump, hump. And we got our good friend Scribelight here. My good buddy,
everybody.
Pat
How's
S.
it going?
Oh. Yeah. We need to, you know what? We need to get Snow to work with us and like all of us create puppets for ourselves that look just like us. It'd be really weird. And just go on camera with the puppet instead of us. That looks just like us. That'd be fun. I don't know. Like, is there like laser etching for styrofoam? You know, that foam rubber that you use for
there
puppet
probably
heads?
is. What was that British show where the entire thing was just puppets of public figures and everything? I forget what that was called.
Oh yeah, and then they also did the Genesis video.
Yep, Land of Confusion.
Oh my god, what was it called? Oh my god, I remember that.
It was like double exposure or something. It was like some kind of, I forget exactly what it was now.
Spitting image. Spitting
image. That's what it was. Yeah, spitting image. Yeah.
Yeah. I just said, I've still got that deep drawer. I just have a very slow retrieval system. I'm getting there. So Pat's here too. How you doing, Pat?
Hey, gang. Good to be here.
Pat's joined us. I'm hoping that Tom might be popping in to talk about this film because I know he's fond of this film. I know that Stephen will be joining us a half hour into the show. He's still at work, and what we'll do is like right when he pops in, I'll pretend to end the show like it was over.
Asshole.
By the way, last night was so much fun. I don't know if any of you guys watched last night's episode of Toxic Tuesday. I broke Nick like 4 times during the show. Just like he even spewed his drink. I waited till he was taking a drink and he starts choking. He goes, "Dude, don't do that when I'm drinking." I went, "I can't help it." I like breaking
it goes to show how much of a great buffer Mark D with a C is, huh? Every time he's not there, just kind of, goes wackily off the rails.
Wackily. But you know what? We did stay pretty much on topic though.
You did.
We talked about but I really went to town with all the gay stuff that's in it. And it's like it's not as gay as I admit it. It's not as gay as Rocky 3. It really isn't. But it's pretty gay. And and I just like everybody loves that I'm embraced. And I said that last night. I said, embrace the gay. Hold on really tightly because that's how people get hurt if you loosen your grip. But I would just say fucked up shit to poor old Nick, and Nick would just fucking lose his shit laughing. And Brian even broke in at one point. He goes, "Okay, Gary, stop breaking Nick." But I love doing it. It's like breaking Keith. I love breaking Keith, saying something that'll like get into his head. And I know he won't be able to handle it. He's just going to lose his fucking mind how I said it.
I'm looking forward to you breaking us again when we start talking about House of the Dragon again and the blacks and the greens.
Oh, next week? That's next week. We start next Friday. We're going to be doing 2 episodes per show. till the season's over. It's gonna be
So
fun.
every other week.
Gonna be fun.
I just want to be
But I
back
also
in that
wanted to
world.
get with you guys about suggesting shows in our group, of what we should be doing on Wednesdays. Wednesdays, pick a movie. See, let's discuss doing it. I think it'll be fun. Hi, Penny. Who else here?
Well, we open for suggestions for Friday too. If you have a show that you really love, tell us.
Well, you'll be here for most of it, Scribe. I was just reading his private message.
Yeah.
So,
My friend Mr. Black Pasta's in the chat. He's a true crime content creator, and I just had him on, or I'm hoping soon to have him on a panel discussion.
introduce
True
him
crime stuff.
to me because I have a fascination with true crime since I was a kid.
Well, I
grew up
I got
reading
a
that
whole
stuff.
series. I got a whole series on my channel called "Living on Borrowed Crime," where I interview true crime content creators.
I've never
and
heard
do
you
panel
doing
discussions. Really? Okay. Well, here you go,
No.
everybody. If you like true crime, yeah, I've been very fortunate that I've made friends with several true crime YouTubers over the last couple of years, and slowly but surely I've networked a kind of friendly bullpen of these guys. And I just had a stream last week which had Mr. Black Pasta, Dave's Lemonade, True Red Crime, and Morbid Curiosity, and Misery Machine on there, talking about the distance between the stories they work on in their real lives, and talking about topics like that, amongst other things. And I've interviewed individuals over the last couple of years as well. So if you like that kind of thing, it's over there. And I'm hoping on the next panel discussion to get Mr. Black Pasta on if things work out. If you don't know about Mr. Black Pasta, look up The Disturbing Truth. And he says,
Let's talk about a live action Rugrats versus Recess movie. I mean, we're all thinking about it. I watched both cartoons with my daughter, so I'm not as big a fan of Rugrats. I liked Recess better. I thought it was a better show.
I like old Rugrats, like early seasons Rugrats was pretty good.
Well, it was better. What I liked that was animated by the same team was that show, The Traveling Family Out in the Wilderness. And then they even got a movie, Jungles.
Oh,
With Thornberries,
Tim Curry.
right? Yeah.
Tim Curry did the voice. It was a great little show.
mhm.
Thornberries. Yes, that was it. Yeah, Pat, that was it. I love that show with my daughter. We watched that, and the movie had a Peter Gabriel song that I really like, Alien Nation or Animal Nation. Yeah, it's a good song. They put it in the movie. But yeah, Tim Curry. I'm just a big Tim Curry fan. It breaks my heart to see him. Photos of him today, even though I know he's okay health. It just breaks my heart what that stroke did to him. Manos, The Hands of Fate.
Is it public domain now?
I think it is, and it is considered one of the worst movies ever made.
Yeah, you could probably stream that on your channel without too much trouble. I did Night of the Living Dead a few years ago, talking with my sister, did a live stream of that and got away with it. But
I remember this movie. Yeah, it is terrible. I watched this a long time ago with my buddy Jason. We went to the art theater for a whole bunch of really bad B movies from the 60s. And that was one of them. There was one called Carnival of Terror or something. It was actually not bad.
Carnival of Souls.
Alien Animal Nation. It was my dad's play tomorrow. Actually, Black Pasta, just to let you know, I pitched last year. I pitched it to Tom Conkle, and I've got Shinatsky working with me now, and we're going to finish up the script for The Darker because he is greenlit doing it, and he's going to direct it. He'll probably be in it as well as have his regular retinue of actors in it. And it is a straightforward homage to the 80s vampire films.
Ooh.
And it's got its own theme song. I don't know if that's in which one is that in, Martin?
What?
Which room is that in? The theme.
I don't know.
Well, I'm glad I asked. I will take a look. I'll just go through them all right now. In here. Because he was blown away when I played the theme for him. Tom's like, holy shit, you've got a script and you've written the music? I'm like, yeah, I I compose music.
You're
And
a
he
John
likes that.
Carpenter.
Well, I'm a big John Carpenter fan. And when I was younger, I was already in a rock band. And I thought I could do what he does because I love making films because I was shooting films. Craig Edwards and Craig, who's worked on a lot of shows like Person of Interest. Gosh, he's worked on so many films and TV shows. He and I used to make films when we were teenagers and had aspirations. Sadly, I don't like people,
As we
which
know.
has been a problem. You know, it's not like I really hate people. It's just I will meet people and I don't fucking like them. And if I don't like them, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do about it. And a lot of times I'll admit it, it's in the past, it's been actors for the most part that annoy me. And then I had an editor who was great fucking editor. He edited 3 of my films. And but the guy was a heroin addict. And he just looked like everybody. He didn't look like a junkie, dressed really sharply. Fucking loved his heroin, man. And I had to physically drag him out of his house once and put him in my van. And he woke up 3/4 of the way to the location because he was supposed to be editing on scene because we had equipment in the back of the van. Here's the song. This is the song I wrote, and he fell in love with it for the vampire film. And it's a perfect vampire theme from the 80s. Tell me I'm wrong when you hear this. All right, what did you think?
I can see that up against shots of like big setting suns and things and opening credits and just like the plain old like John Carpenter white
Or
font.
even the end theme. I was thinking like right at the end, because the end of this thing, he fucking shit himself at how cool the twist at the ending is. And then he's like, oh my God, you kind of tricked the audience into believing this one thing and then you do this other thing. I said, yeah, it's a plot device. It's fun to play with plot twists. I enjoy that. But you got to do it in a way that feels more original and you don't want to overdo it like JJ does. JJ, what was it? Star Trek Into Darkness had 5 plot twists in the movie. It's like, do you not understand that if you do 2 in a movie, it's too many?
The only thing that song needs is a saxophone solo somewhere in the middle.
Right.
Yeah. Need to have that saxophone in there. Then you get it going.
So, but anyway, I'm looking forward to getting with Tom on this. Shinatsky and I are going to finish up the script because I've already written 63 pages of a 90-page script. And what I did is I wrote a complete outline of some of the other writers going to work with me that were buddies of mine. But that, I don't know, it just didn't work. So we're going to just take the script as is with anything that they did that I like, keep that in there. And then I'm going to finish the rest of it with Shinatsky and at least be done with it and give it to him as a first draft for the script. I think 70% of the script is perfect for a film. I think some of it needs to be tightened up. And from what I understand, script doctor, because we've talked about it, I've talked to a script about it, he'll be stepping in to do a cleanup at the end. And I know one scene is going to be cut by him. Because he doesn't like, there's this opening scene where you see a lady being chased by something and it's all horrifying. And then I cut to the interior of a convenience store of a guy mopping the floor because it's like in the middle of the night and he's mopping the floor. This woman goes running in the distance in the moonlight, and something's like above her flapping. And the guy's like not mopping. Then he stops and turns and looks and doesn't see anything and goes back to his mopping. I thought that'd be funny. It's a nice throwback to the 80s kind of humor. But the script didn't like that one. Because we
Gary,
did
can I ask a quick question? Where do you come up with the 90 pages for a script? Is that like the ideal in your head?
Well, yeah, because the whole 120 pages, I'm like, that's a 2-hour film. And you're writing 2 hours of movie. And for me, for the most part, especially with like action comedies, they shouldn't be 2 hours long. I think they should be an hour and a half, maybe a little over hour and a half. Hit them, knock them out, and fucking go. Give them something to enjoy. And that way it's also easier on them to watch again. Yeah. It's hard to fucking sit down and give up 2 hours. It's a little easier to do an hour, hour and a half.
I hear you.
And I've had this discussion.
I was only asking because I actually had a film professor tell us one time that 90 to 100 pages is like the ideal. That's the kiss.
Yeah, no, I agree. 100 pages, anywhere between an hour and a half and an hour 40 minutes, I think is good. I think that is gold. I think that it's rude when directors make movies over 3 hours and don't give an intermission. It's thoughtless towards the audience. And you should always consider your audience. And everybody can say whatever they want to about this movie. I thought it was great too.
Speaking of 3 hour long movies.
What? Oh, this discussion? Oh, fuck you, Scribe.
No. I'm talking about this movie. It's 240, but yeah, I mean, it's nigh on 3 hours.
Yeah, and you know what though? It surprised me how fast it goes by.
Yes, that's one of its major redeeming qualities, and of course, Tarantino's scripting is that you're always moving forward in the characters and the plot and everything else. And before we get into the details,
problem with him, and I want to get your opinion on this, Scribe, is that often a lot of his dialogue, as snappy as it is, could be said by anybody. And it does one thing it does something that you're not supposed to do in screenwriting: ignore the story. And it's always important that your dialogue push the story forward. And Quentin Tarantino has never written a script like that.
Yeah, well, it's important that it could be said by anybody, but the way he writes it and the way he gets the performance out of most of his actors, the subtext to their character is as, if not more so important than necessarily what they're saying, and how it tells you something about them, the relationships with the
them. That's all he's talking about. Is through that dialogue, you're just understanding the characters,
right?
And the story doesn't. It's like not really part of the dialogue, and that kind of always bothers me in his writing. That's why when people go, "Do you like Reservoir Dogs?" I said I liked Reservoir Dogs when it was 3 other movies, and
well, the thing I've always noticed about his writing is that it feels natural and it gets across information without feeling like you're getting knocked over the head with exposition. Like the dialogue feels like it's part of that world, the part of that scene. It's not something that's just sort of tacked on to service the plot. I mean, it does service the plot, but it's so organic, you don't really notice it as telling you something. It's like, hey, audience, you need to pay attention to this now. It fits the characters, it fits the world. You can tell that these characters exist in a world beyond just the blocking of the shot. And that's Tarantino's, I think, one of his greatest strengths in writing.
Well, he's visual. He is a visual storyteller. And that's the other thing I like about him. And which is why I'm a fan of The Hateful Eight, but I also hate that movie because he does 2 big no-nos. Introduces sudden narration in the 3rd act. And in fact, it's so funny, and I tell this story, it's really happened. I'm watching it for the first time on disc, and all of a sudden his narration starts, and I'm hitting buttons to the audio because I thought I accidentally hit director commentary. And I'm like, what the fuck is going? Then I realized, oh my God, he's actually narrating.
Yeah, and I didn't care for The Hateful Eight that much.
Dumbest thing I ever saw, and I just consider that one of the most idiotic moves by a writer-director.
I had a quick question. I had a quick question. So before we get into the details of the movie, between Inglourious Bastards and this, I could be wrong. Somebody can correct me, but has Quentin Tarantino invented the subgenre of alternate history revenge fantasy?
He has gone into it. I don't think he invented it, but he has definitely delved elbow deep into it, and I
Mhm.
like it to a certain extent. With by the way, I wanted to say something before we finish this. Is going back to the third act of this film. Suddenly, there's the narration because you do a time jump, and it's a
Yeah.
perfect spot for Kurt. And instead of him doing it, he has Kurt do it, but he also very cleverly throws that narration in at the first act. So that's the way you do that. You can't just abruptly introduce something into a film. You don't introduce a major character in the third act. You introduce all your major characters in the first act, even if they're off screen. You introduce them in story. And that was something they really didn't do with Hateful Eight. This film, I consider this his most near perfect film because his second act doesn't wander like normally his second acts do. This seems to have a place to go and tell an interesting story, like him going to Spawn Ranch. That was a great moment, which, by the way, if you know real history, that was actually actor that played the Lone Ranger that went to Spawn Ranch to see him that day and had the run-in with because it's in his biography about running into him. He had his daughter with him, and he didn't let these guys menace him. He stood up to them because he's a big dude. What was his name? Clay something. I can't remember his name.
Yeah.
But
Actually,
Quentin
Gary,
Tarantino-
he also said in his book that he felt that bravado, like he felt like he couldn't back down, but he also felt that way too because his daughter was there, and he felt very
Yes.
protective of her.
Very
So he
protective
felt
of
like he
her.
couldn't back down, right? Because if he showed any weakness, he was very worried
Right.
about his child. So
So he
yeah,
showed that bravado right in front of his kid. She saw it personally, and he stared these people down and went in there and, of course, had his visit with the gentleman that owned the place. And it was different than it was in the film because he's actually physically able to get around and wasn't blind. It was just that was creative just for this movie. I liked what they did in this film. I loved every little bit that they did. I love that he read that book about his biography and is a big fan of that book. But this film is, in my opinion, the best film he's ever done, the best writing he's ever done, and I think it's the most consistent from beginning to end.
Yeah, I'm not sure how he tops this with his 10th film because this was such
I don't know either. I almost feel
it's
like
such
he
a
should just retire.
it's such a culmination of like every other little thing you love about his other movies because it creates this entire world. It does all this world building of a particular point in time. You have all these characters, and they're all operating independently, and yet they're all intertwined in this same sort of trail of fate and destiny, one to another. And the direction, the visuals, the acting, the performances he gets out of them, the writing. Yeah, he real. I mean, unless his next one is just some kind of, I don't know. It's got to be some kind of top of the heap diamond. I don't know how he tops this, honestly, all things considered.
I gotta agree. I gotta agree because everything he's done to this point has been like practice, and he finally got it right. And I just don't think you get better films than this. I mean, it's also as straightforward a story as this seems. It's an amazing fantasy because it is a dark moment in our history that I remember as a kid. That I mean, we're all scared to death that Helter Skelter was going to come get us. When we were kids because we lived out there in the West. Like, oh shit, nobody's safe. And he captures the feel of the 60s, the look of the 60s, and he creates two major characters that are amalgamations of other people that I think are wonderful.
yeah, no doubt. This is definitely his homage and his love of old Hollywood, and this is definitely the time where this was like the last vestiges of old Hollywood, right? Like a lot died.
Yeah, this is when the
Not just
studio
because
system
people,
died.
right? You know, and I that's one of the things I love about how we have this, you know, kind of fading movie actor, and he's going into television, and there was such that strife between television and movies, and you know, before the advent of the real blockbusters coming in and stuff and everything, it was a scary time in Hollywood. It was very precarious what was going on with people's careers and how it just changed and how many people you lost at that time. I would say probably only second to when we went from, you know, silent films to talkies. I mean, those people just kind of faded into the background, you know.
Yeah, and Rick Dalton plays your typical actor who's just fucking neurotic about his career falling. And he's got just chock full of self-doubt. And I love the stutter that when he's acting, he's good. And then when he's out of character and he's himself again, he begins stuttering and stammering. Just a great created character here. And Brad Pitt as Cliff Booth is one of my favorite moments. Oh, this is the scene you were talking about, the flamethrower.
Yeah. About him stuttering, he also seems very confident when he's doing a scene and in front of a camera, and he's so uncomfortable during
During
interviews.
performances, he's normal. That's what I said. When he's performing, he's spot on. But the minute he's back out of character and himself, he begins stuttering again.
It's not just
And
that.
it's so-
He's very shy almost. He doesn't like doing interviews and shit like that. And usually you think that
I don't know why
actors
you're-
love talking about
you think
themselves
that's-
and their work and stuff.
But that's not contrarian to what I'm saying. It goes right with what I'm saying. You're not arguing with me. You're
Hey.
actually
I'm trying
saying
to argue.
more
I'm trying to
you're
add to what you're
expanding.
saying.
You're just
Well,
expanding.
no, now you're
on it.
arguing.
We're arguing because she thinks we're arguing. We're not. You're not creating an argument with me. You're actually expanding on what I said because that is why he's so self-conscious and self-doubting all the time, which I pointed out earlier. That this character is probably one of the best characters he's ever played, in my opinion. In my opinion, it's anybody else's. I don't know, but I think
Well, he
this
also-
is one of his best performances.
He also kind of
lost-
represents.
Oh.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Do you want me to play the clip with the flamethrower?
Yeah, let's do that. No shit. Can you do something about that heat? No, it's a flamethrower. Also, you know, something that really surprises me is that Damon Harriman, who plays Charles Manson in this, also played in another film. So he's played him twice.
Oh, yeah?
Dakota Fanning is fantastic as Squeaky Fromm, if anybody remembers their history.
Mhm.
I love the casting of many of the actors. Emil Hirsch as Jay Sebring. Damian Lewis is fucking Steve McQueen.
Yeah, he did a great
A
job.
little bit too tall for it, but he still nails it. Let's see. The Bruce Lee scene is really cool, but I thought it was insulting to Bruce Lee. Oh, I love this part right here. The song and dance thing. He's not even a singer. He's going to release a single. Let's see. Kurt Russell's character in this is just fucking awesome. He's only in there for a few minutes, and he's the narrator. Kurt Russell plays Randy Miller, a fictional stunt coordinator. Oh my God. Timothy Oliphant, great in anything he's in. Bruce Dern plays George Spahn, the owner of Spahn Ranch.
Mhm.
Oh my God. Who else was in this that just nailed it?
Well, Al Pacino.
Oh, Al Pacino. I don't think he's a real guy. I think he's an amalgamation, Marvin Schwartz. But yes, he is great in this film. He really is. Austin Butler, my God, as Charles Watson. Tex is his nickname. So fucking good. Didn't even, Anima was watching and had no idea that was him until I pointed it out.
Dude, his scene just started and you get a glimpse of him, a tiny glimpse, and you stop the movie and ask me who that is. And I'm like, don't know. I haven't even seen him really yet.
And to my knowledge, I think this is one of the last films that Luke Perry appears in. It's a small part. I can't even find him. but he supposedly plays
No,
Wayne
this
Mount.
is the last movie he was in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
He
was
obviously
next
had
in.
done some more stuff for that awful Riverdale show he was doing on the CW too, but yeah.
Last movie. Going through the list, just so many great actors in this
Dude, I
movie.
can't think of her name. The kid actor, man. That little girl was awesome,
Oh, yeah.
man. She was
Yeah,
spot
but-
on.
Yeah, but she's supposed to be 8, and that's not believable.
Yeah.
I would buy 10 maybe, but not 8. No 8-year-old talks and acts like that.
Maybe Sheldon.
He's not real, Gary.
No, he's real.
Now, Gary, as we're throwing this out, I have to say this to you, Gary. I think you know this, and a lot of people do. One of the side hustles that my family has is we rent out our cars to productions that are being done in the New Orleans area, and we
cool.
have a lot of 70s. I'll send you some pictures sometime, buddy. I thought you knew this,
Dude, yeah, I'd love to see that.
But as I was doing that, as I'm watching this movie, I'm like looking at every car, and I have to tell you, now I could be wrong. I'll have to research this better. Probably shouldn't say this live on air. I did not find any anomalies with these cars, dude. I didn't see like a 70, Pontiac sitting there. I didn't see anything like that. So if I'm wrong, I'll own up to it in the future. But I was really impressed because I was looking at every car, and I even tried to look some stuff up and everything.
A lot of
and I
Volkswagen
think they did a
Beetles in
good
this
job.
movie, by the way. A lot of Beetles.
Indeed.
By the way, everybody, for the guys in particular, this is a movie with Sydney Sweeney in it. She plays one of the Manson girls, Manson family.
Mhm.
And she's the one that she's the one that answers the door at Spawn Ranch and first starts talking to Cliff.
Oh, I thought she was the one that chickened out.
No. That was oh fuck, who was it? That's Ethan Hawke's daughter.
Oh, that's Uma Thurman. Oh, I thought it was Uma Thurman's daughter.
Yeah, Uma Thurman and Ethan Hawke's daughter. They're both parents. They had her. They had sex and had a baby.
Yes. I think she was
Is that how that
conceived during
happens?
Gattaca.
Although I would be terrified having sex with her that I might end up somehow sucked into her nostrils because they're so fucking gigantic. But no, Maya Hawke. That's her name, Maya Hawke.
Yeah.
She plays the girl that chickens out and runs away. And that was supposed to be one of the real Manson girls too. So trying to remember who the fuck that was. Her nickname was Flower Child. I can't remember her real name. And but the main ones that they show is Squeaky Fromme, Tex. Charles Manson does make an appearance in it, and it's true because the house that Sharon Tate and he moved into used to belong to the drummer brother, Beach Boys, and he had allowed
one
Manson,
of the Wilsons. I thought it was Brian Wilson, but I'm probably wrong.
I think it is Brian Wilson. It's Brian
Okay.
Wilson. Brian Wilson lived there, and he fucking bugged out because Manson was freaking him out. Him and his followers.
Yeah, he was going through a lot. I think he moved in with one of his brothers, if you remember right, because that's when he started having a lot of his mental issues. Was around that time.
Yep.
So
Yep.
yeah,
And that's why they gave up the house, sold it to Roman Polanski and Sharon Tate. And let's see, Rumor Willis is in this. That's Bruce's and Demi Moore's daughter. She plays Joanne Pettit in it. Samantha Robinson, not very well known actor, plays a part of Abigail Folger, somebody that people forget was at the house when it was murdered along with them. My God, so many fucking real people in this film. Oh, and that dude that plays Roman Polanski, Raffet something. He nails Polanski perfectly.
Oh, yeah.
Great performance.
He's practically a
and
clone.
Gary, one of your boss's buddies was in this too, man. Dick Winters, Sergeant Dick Winters. I mean, Captain Dick
Yeah, he
Winters
plays
was
Steve
played
McQueen.
Steve
Yeah.
McQueen. Yeah, what she was
Yeah.
awesome at. I thought it would take me out of it a little bit because I so much view him as like the guy from Billions, and the guy from Band of Brothers. But he really did a good job. He even kind of looked like Steve McQueen back
Yeah,
then.
the only problem that I had was when he's standing, he's taller than everybody, and Steve
Yeah.
McQueen wasn't that tall.
No, not at all.
Which was why he kind of had some of the attitude that he did. He had short man's, what do you call it? Short man's complex. And he was so conflictive and competitive with other actors. It's why, Newman wasn't sure he wanted to work with him because that was who originally was cast in Butch and Sundance. But Steve McQueen in this is essential because he lays down some things about the goings on with the household. Why is what's his name? Jay Sebring, the hairdresser. Why is he always hanging around her? And because that was who she was having a relationship with until she met Polanski. And so Sebring plays this clinging on guy, hoping to get, the leftovers when Polanski's done with her, kind of thing, and gets him killed. But not in this movie, because this movie is a fantasy. But wait, I saw this. I forgot the script director is a stick in the mud. And also, I like this one. Great song for an STD. I don't burn. And your buddy says, "Thou shalt not burn." There's a word in that song, by the way, Scribe. You'll like this. I threw it in there because a buddy of mine, Charlie, Anima knows him. Charlie said, "You can't say inexorably in a song."
Oh,
and
challenge.
I said, "Challenge accepted."
Challenge
I wrote
accepted.
that song.
It reminds me of, for some reason, it reminds me of that movie with Steve Martin, Leap of Faith, where they give him bets at the beginning of his sermon. Like, can you include these words in your sermon and get away with it? And the guy's like, aluminum siding. Like, how are you going to fork that in there? Yeah.
I love shit like that, though.
Yeah.
I like that movie. I think that's probably my third favorite Steve Martin film. Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid, Roxanne, and that film are my three favorite Steve Martin films.
I still love The Jerk.
4.
I love The Jerk.
I like The Jerk, but it's not in my top list.
Man with Two Brains.
Man with Two Brains.
It's also right there with those two are like they're the silly Steve Martin films that I like, and I kind of put them off to their own little compartment. But no, the other film, there are 4 films. The fourth one is Dirty Rotten Scoundrel.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Okay.
I honestly thought for a second there Gary was going to start doing the Steve Martin Christmas wish miracle. No, wait, 7 things. Of course, world peace. We need that. Now, Gary, let me ask you this: is this true? Since we're right here on this picture,
there's Steve McQueen. This is the scene, by the way.
Yeah.
Was Steve McQueen in real life supposed to be going to Polanski's the night of the murders?
Yes,
but he met up with a chick he was cheating on.
By a girl. He was out with them and was invited to come back to the house and remembered a girl and went and hooked up with her instead. And that's why he's still alive. But the guy could fight too, so maybe he wouldn't have given in so quickly.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird to even think about.
This, of course, there's Polanski sitting out behind his house there. And it's such a strange movie. And it's almost dreamlike the way they show her. This is like a 60s movie. This is how you would show a woman in a 60s movie, with the sheet draped over the buttocks, the legs sticking out, the light hitting it a certain way to where it looks really shiny on the skin. I love that scene.
And if I could say this too, to throw out to those people, if you remember, there was a lot of garbage being touted about with, you're the only woman in here who has, you're supposed to be an equal, part of the star power behind this and everything, and you have so few lines and everything. Her whole scene where she goes to the movies to see herself is
Yeah.
a joy, dude. It is the only. When you think about it, right? This is still a really dark movie, even though it had a much happier ending than real life. But that's like that little bit of sunshine and it just goes to show you. I thought that made Sharon Tate so real and so relatable, because
Yep.
that's, you're only, if that was you in a movie, there's probably only two ways you're going to act. You're either going to be real embarrassing, you don't want to look at, you don't want to do it, or you're going to be kind of like her and be playful about it. And I just thought it was delightful. I hate to use that word, but it was. I mean, I thought it was great.
Yeah. Well, each of these characters represents some major aspect of the Hollywood mystique. You've got Dalton, who is effectively two different people. When the spotlight's on him, he's this character, and then when it's not, he's a uncertain, almost scared of himself individual. Just like, the veneer of Hollywood versus the truth beneath. You got Brad Pitt's character. I suddenly forget the character's name for some reason, but
Cliff.
Yeah, Cliff. He's the pragmatism, the sort of the rough and tumble reality behind Hollywood. You see, he sort of represents the crew on a film rather than the cast, and that sort of aspect, the working man aspect. And then Sharon Tate, she's the innocence, she's the idealism of Hollywood, of what it can be from the outside, the dream of it and everything. So you got these competing elements of the Hollywood mystique and aesthetic. Each of these characters sort of like walking and representing that. Until they all, come to a head at one point or another.
Yeah. Now, I do want to go into this scene because this is important, because Dalton, he wants to do this scene and he wants to be seen because he's getting nervous that his career is over. And they're telling him, no, they're going to hide him under some makeup, make him look a little more burly, have him wear a dark hat that rides low on his head and wear his hair a certain way, and basically telling him, you're not going to look like you. So now this is the confrontation between him and the director. And the director explains to him, because he's nervous about that. He's like, they're not going to be able to see me. Yeah, and he goes, no, that's good, because now you get to show how you can act and bring this character to life.
Yeah, but he doesn't really
I don't want you. I want your performance.
Yeah,
he
but as the director describes what he wants him to look like, he starts to freak out because he just can't see himself like that. And it's funny. It's just a little thing.
It is, but at the same time,
he's like,
the minute he gets into that makeup,
he's in the role. Yeah.
He becomes this character. And it leads to him doing something that they weren't expecting with her. And he's afraid that he hurt the little girl. And he goes, oh, I'm sorry, did I hurt you there? And she's like, no, I brought my pads.
When he throws her, yeah, she likes it because she's all in for acting. I mean, the lesson she gives him about eating before doing a scene, explaining why she's not having lunch, that's a professional.
Now, the blonde sitting here, that's Sweeney, not her. The other girl is Sydney Sweeney.
That's right.
So you've really got two really gorgeous women in this film, Sydney Sweeney and what's her name, Margot Robbie.
Okay. Addie McDowell's daughter isn't too hard on the eyes either.
I don't know if I know her.
That's the brunette girl that sells him the acid cigarette. Yeah.
Oh, Margaret Qualley is her daughter?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
I mean, hot mother, hot daughter.
Wow, I knew something you didn't know. I should leave right now, dude. That should be my exit. That's a win.
I like it.
I'm cashing in my chips, dude.
Every woman's favorite fucking moment of this movie.
Yes.
Right now. Him fixing that antenna, and she's over there in her house putting on some music. And he's listening to it, and he goes into a daydream.
Which is confusing at first, but dude, you need to take a red marker and mark the day in the calendar, the day you taught Gary something. That needs to be remembered.
I'm putting it on my iPhone now.
Oh yeah.
Hey. Shanotsky's in the house.
Hey, Shan.
Well, that's a problem, Shanotsky. Why aren't you here? Oh, he's working. That's right. So basically, Anna was good with that scene in the movie theater.
No, I wasn't.
Until
it's
she
fucking
saw
gross
her
to
dirty
put your
feet
up there. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not that
I was
that's dirty,
going to
but
tell him, honey. I was going to tell him the dirty
putting your
feet
feet on the
caused
seat
you
in
to
front of
go,
you, that's-
oh, that's just gross.
There are certain places where feet don't belong, whether they're naked or not. And that includes the back of the seat in front of you.
Now, this is the flashbacks within flashbacks is a thing. There is a flashback within a flashback in this film, and I can't remember where it is. And it cracked me up. I loved that. But this is where you see him talking about him killing his wife, that Cliff Booth murdered his wife.
Allegedly.
In the flashback is that
Allegedly. Yeah.
he talks about murdering his wife, and then you flashback another second time to him on the boat and his wife pissing and moaning, and he turns to her and points the gun right at her, or the harpoon, or what he has. That's a double flashback.
Well, he's not pointing it at her. It's already pointed where it's at, and she walks right in front of it and is just berating him, or trying to emasculate him, and he's just looking at her. And then you take notice that harpoon is aimed right at her. And I don't doubt for a second he pulled that fucking trigger. He's like, fuck you, bitch.
Oh, yeah, he did.
No one's ever going to find you.
Which murder was that based on, or the supposed murder? I can't remember.
Oh, there's a whole thing about it. Let me look it up real quick.
Is the stuntman a real character? I don't know.
He's based on an amalgamation of several men.
By the way, good morning, Shanatsky.
Yeah.
And we have Tom. Hey, Tom.
Hey, it's a Tom.
Hey, Tom.
I'm in here. Can you hear me? Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, I can hear
Yeah, you
fine,
sound
buddy.
great.
I don't have much time. I got to work on some stuff here, but I just came in here during one of the most controversial bits in the movie.
Uh-oh.
My favorite part.
And yeah, the whole, this is all based on the whole, what was it? Christopher Walken and
Oh, that's what it's based on. Okay.
Natalie Wood? Wow,
Natalie
okay.
Wood and all that shit. Yeah. But Cliff is actually based upon like Hal Needham and a couple of other stuntmen. I'm trying to remember.
In fact, the big wrestler that worked with Bruce Lee, he's based loosely on him too.
Yeah, because I wanted to get in here for the Bruce Lee discussion because I know that's the most controversial scene in the film.
It's coming up right now.
To him.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. How many, obviously, people here have actually heard Tarantino explain this scene?
I saw it on Joe Rogan.
Misinterpret.
I saw him on Joe Rogan.
Yes.
Because, okay, so the paraphrasing of what he said on Joe Rogan and he said other places is this. He is a huge Bruce Lee fan. He feels really saddened that Bruce Lee's daughter didn't get what he was trying to say with the scene. Because this is actually loosely based on
his widow, too.
Yeah, I guess she did too. But like, either way, like, this is actually loosely based on an actual event. And not only that,
with
Bruce
that wrestler
was known,
I was talking about, the judo
Bruce
master.
was known for being a little too rough with the stuntmen. So supposedly that's what led up to this whole original real story that this is based on, is that one of the stuntmen confronted Bruce on this because he was beating the shit out of his stuntmen, and they were, you know, they weren't going to say anything to Bruce himself, but this guy was willing to say something to Bruce. So it kind of turned into this little tussle. But at the end of the day, what Tarantino says is like, I hate that people think that Bruce got his ass beat, because that's not what this scene is saying. He goes, if anything, Cliff and Bruce tie, because if Bruce hadn't done the same exact move twice, he would have kicked Cliff's ass.
It was a stalemate.
It was kind of, because he's like, the only reason Cliff came in and threw him into the car is because he did the same exact move twice, and he literally baited him into doing it. Right. And that was just under the assumption that he's going to do the same move again. If Bruce had come in and done something different, he could have knocked his block off. That's kind of what Tarantino was saying, is he hates that people think that it was a, you know, one beat the other kind of thing. It was more so that it was a tie. Exactly, Scribe. And that was kind of where his whole thing was. Like, he was kind of trying to build up Cliff, but he was definitely not trying to tear Bruce down at all in any way, shape, or form, because he's a huge
Just
Bruce
to
Lee
tell
fan.
you the true story is Gene LaBelle is his name. Gene LaBelle was a stuntman that was a judo master, and he was picked to deal with Bruce, not in a negative way, but Bruce was getting frustrated with the American stuntmen not knowing how to react to his multiple strikes because he's fast. And Gene LaBelle understood it, and Gene went in there. What he did is he sparred with him, and this is a big thing with Bruce, sparring with people. and they sparred to a fucking draw in real life. And he's told the story. He says, and I respected Bruce, and Bruce respected me, and we worked together, and we're friends. And that's the story. There wasn't anybody getting their ass beat. Now he says, now it's a different story with Steven Seagal. He put him in a chokehold because Seagal said he'd get out of any hold. He put him in a hold, and he knocked him out, and he shit his pants.
Yeah.
Another true story.
That's basically the story, is that, Bruce would get a little too rough. So, what was the name of the real guy again? Sorry.
Gene LaBelle. Look, Tom, you should look up that guy's story and listen to some of his old interviews.
I know some of it. I always forget his name. But, that's kind of what it's loosely based on. But Bruce said that it is a little bit more clear in the novel. So, I mean, I guess that's his failure as a director, and the editor's failure in kind of expressing that, I guess, to the
I think my
audience.
problem with the presentation of Bruce was cocky, but he was more subdued than this guy. And this guy does a spot-on performance as Bruce. Really,
and he's also
done.
doing an imitation more than he is an actual.
It is. It's an impression of him, and I really like that. But Bruce was not. He was cocky. He wasn't a fucking asshole about it.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, the title of the movie, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, it's like, as I'm watching these things, right, it's a fantasy, but I also feel like when you have these instances where you have these historical figures making appearances, it's like a twice told tale you heard from a friend of yours about a thing that happened one time.
Right.
So it feels a little bit detached from reality, but it's meant to. It's meant to. Yeah.
And I think that's exactly it, Scribe. I think that's what Tarantino's doing. He's taking all these stories that he knows of growing up in that area and up and coming, in his favorite era of films.
Yeah, it's an idealized version of Hollywood. It's an idealized version of old Hollywood.
It is. And not only that, it's kind of his own version of it in his brain, right? Like, and it's like at the end, the good guys get to win, right? Like that's the whole thing with the ending too.
Yeah, and I asked earlier when here, but I asked if Tarantino inadvertently created a subgenre called alternate history revenge fantasy between Inglourious Bastards and this.
It because it's been around for a while.
Oh, I know. It's just that the Inglourious Bastards and this are like the most prominent.
But I do like it as a subgenre. I do. I think it'd be great to do more stuff like this.
Well, you're forgetting one too, my friend. Django Unchained. I mean, Django. Right there is like that is the ultimate revenge movie, right? It's like
I love the acting.
Did all this damage to my wife, and
well, sure, but I mean, like slave revolts on plantations aren't an unheard of thing. Like
not to that extent.
Completely rewriting.
No, but what Tarantino did was he took a woke movie or made a woke movie before woke was in and did it 10 times better than they ever could with Django. Like that's what he did. Like you watch it now and it's like, man, this is everything every woke person wants to make out of every one of these movies, but it's good, right? Like
it's actually entertaining. Which you've heard me say this, Tom. You've heard me say that I will watch a woke movie if they tell me a good story.
Well, the only reason I say that is just because you have the whole like revenge element to it, and you have how the slaves are being portrayed in the film compared to Django, and the Christoph Waltz character could almost be compared to like a white savior sort of side. There's all kinds of things you could read into it, but I just love it when people come at Tarantino, especially for using the N-word so much, and he's like, "Bitch, I made Django Unchained. Fuck off," like. Like, name anybody else in Hollywood who could get that movie made. Even Spike Lee probably couldn't have got that movie made at that time, right? And that's what I love about his hubris, especially when people are like, "Well, you couldn't make this movie today." He's like, "Well, I fucking could." Tarantino, he's like, I can do it.
Yeah,
he's not afraid of anything.
He's not afraid to. He doesn't care. Yeah, he doesn't care. By the way, he does a great.
Him?
I think it's a matter of. He can get the funds to get this type of stuff made. That's the issue we have. It's
that's what I mean.
People aren't willing to make these kinds of movies.
Well, they'll let him take the chance.
Who's going to fucking fund them?
Well, that's kind of what I was getting at with Spike Lee. Is like I don't even think anybody would give Spike Lee the kind of money to make something like Django Unchained. But Tarantino, on the other hand, is a whole nother level. But you were saying something, Gary, that we got trampled over there.
No, I was just I was agreeing with you, but I was also saying that I paused it here because he does a perfect triangle block here. When he comes in the second time, he makes a triangle. It's a move you'll see in Batman or Dark Knight Rises. He's constantly throwing that block. It's turning your arm with you put your
there's another thing to this
side of your head, and turn your arm into a triangle to do a side block. By the way, that's Zoe, the stunt woman from all of his other films.
Well, because
Oh,
the
yeah.
whole point of this too is if you're paying attention is Cliff ends up using Bruce's own style against him. And it's kind of funny because in reality, Bruce actually did a whole thing on this in reverse, right? Like he was talking about how one style of martial arts is no good. Because that was one thing that he always got a bunch of shit from the community about, was how he tried to mix the styles and he came up with his own, because he said, yeah, you know, fine, karate's great if you're facing somebody who's fighting karate with you. But if you get in a ring with somebody who's a completely different fighter, karate ain't going to do shit for you, basically. And I'm paraphrasing, obviously. Bruce is much better with words.
No, but you're on it.
Yeah. So like that's kind of the whole point is here's Cliff actually uses his style against him by doing that triangle block, like you just said, because otherwise Cliff, if like that's the whole point, is if he would have come in with something completely different that Cliff was not ready for, he would have gotten his ass kicked. Like that's where I mean, Bruce probably could have killed him if he wanted to. So that's the thing. Bruce was lethal. And I mean, the whole lethal, I love that other joke too. Because it is true. I mean, he used to say that shit all the time, but it's like true. You kill anybody with your bare hands, it's called murder. You're going to prison.
Yeah, it's manslaughter. You're going to jail.
You're going to prison. Like, end of story. Like, that's what I always love about it. So even that is taking the piss a little bit out of that, but at the same time, it's true though, because Bruce was that. Like, I mean, I don't know if that's what I love about the movies, how it captured how he was just a big, huge facet of that era, right? And,
oh, sorry, Gary, I got to split. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I can't stay too much longer either, but it was good seeing you, Scribe.
Yep, you too, Tom, Gary, everybody else. Hope you have a good rest of the show. And
I see Steven joined us and a few others, it looks like.
You want to add anything before you go?
Oh, this is a great movie. If you haven't seen it, you need to see it. It's a culmination of all of Tarantino's best attributes as a filmmaker. Like I said earlier, I'm gonna be really curious and cautious about what he does as his quote unquote last film, because I don't know how he tops this one. So we'll see. But everybody have a good rest of the week, and I'll see you in the proverbial funny
Friday.
papers. Yep, see you Friday.
See you Friday.
Bye-bye.
See you Friday.
Bye, buddy.
Bye.
It's
Yeah,
gonna be interesting on
Yeah.
Friday because he has the exact opposite reaction to the three-body problem that Anima and I had watching it.
We still have.
This is a great scene. This is, I consider to be the best acted scene in the entire film.
We have a breach.
It's not my favorite scene, but it's the best acted. Hey, D-Bud's here. One of the hardest working wrenches in our community.
He came out.
They tried to Gary's back door, but it was shaped like JCVD's, Jean-Claude Van Damme's legs and buns. And that's right. It wasn't oiled enough for me to get in, D-Bud. I'm sorry. I've tried, and it just doesn't work.
He wrenched your back door.
Oh, that's gonna hurt.
Yeah. Better give him a video.
Go ahead.
Okay. Could I?
Are you doing it? Are you doing it?
Do it. No, do it. You
I don't have it.
You do it.
Anima said she was going to do it.
Okay.
I didn't say I was going to do
You
it.
said I want to give him a video, so give him the video.
Okay, I will.
You're not listening.
I
to what I'm
will.
saying.
Here we go.
Open your back door, baby. Loosen your hinges, I'll show you my key.
He who says it, let it, or whatever that old thing is. So if you fucking say it, you fucking play the video.
I said better give him a video anyway.
Do it now. Do it. So
By the way, girl is a really good actress.
yeah, and
She
I
is.
agree with you. 8 years old is pushing it, but I still
Yeah.
think that it's what I don't care. It's a fucking great scene. I'm not going to nitpick her fucking age. I think this scene is the best acted scene in the film.
It is. It's really great.
He learns so much as a character in this scene. He learns about himself. He learns something about her. He learns something about the lengths to which you can really go as an actor. He learns method, which I'm not a fan of method.
It works in that scene. And
By
the
the
fact
way,
that
Tom,
he's not ashamed to learn from a kid. He's very impressed by what she's saying. And it's nice. It's just nice.
Well, he's at his low point, so he's actually willing to listen to someone like this. Whereas
And she
before, he
says
wouldn't listen to
exactly the
anyone.
right things. She says what he needs to hear.
Tom, I don't know if you're still here. I'm putting this in the private chat. This is a link to one of the videos I watched on the story about Gene LaBelle and Bruce Lee. And it was a pretty entertaining video. So it's
I'll
in
have
our
to
private
check on
chat
it.
there. Yeah, it's in the private chat here. So please do
Yeah, I got it.
enjoy it.
I'll have to watch it when I'm done editing later. But yeah,
Because I'm trying to see, how long is that video? I'll look at it real quick.
like 18 minutes. It looked like.
Yep.
But
Yep.
I got to
18
rush out a
minutes.
video here. But
18
no,
minutes.
I love this film. I mean, I'm not going to say it's my favorite Tarantino film, but just like all of his movies, I
think
love
it's
it
his best.
more.
Would you say it's at least one of his better?
It's up there. See, here's my thing: is like even Django was like one of the movies where I was like, at first I'm like, that's not one of his better films. But now every time I've seen it since, it gets better and better and better. And that's the thing with every one of his films. Like every time you see it afterwards, it's like fine wine. You know, you just want to put the cork back in and save some more for just as, a little bit later, because it's that good, as far as like watching it again and again and again and again, you don't want it to run out. That's the thing. He only has 9 films or whatever. And
I think he's reconsidering that.
Yeah, I've got my own theories on it too. But as far as his top film, like for me, it's hard to push Pulp Fiction off the top ring. This might do it eventually. And technical wise, I agree with you. Like this is definitely his best film ever.
Here's the thing about that I say
as
about
far
that
as like
movie.
like subjectively, I would say objectively, I don't know. Like it's hard for me to say because it's like, sure, I love Sgt. Pepper's, I love the White Album and all that kind of business, but you still got to have a respect and love for the early Beatles too. You know what I mean? Like it's like you don't get to
Rubber
point
Soul
C
is
without.
really
You need Rubber Soul
culmination
to
of their
get
best
there.
work.
Exactly, you need Rubber Soul and the other one, the I'm just drew a blank now. One with the white out cover. It's got all the drawings on it.
Revolver.
Revolver, thank you.
Revolver,
The one that everybody says
Revolver,
Rubber
right.
Soul and Revolver should have just been a double album anyway, and they're pretty much right. Because if you don't get to that next stage, so like to me, it's like Tarantino, he's got these key moments in his career, and this is definitely one of them. This is definitely like his White Album or whatever you want to refer to it as. I mean, I hope it's not his Let It Be to his Abbey Road album that will be his next film, but at the same time, I think that this is just it's probably some of his best technical work, acting, writing, all that business. Story wise, still I think Tarantino still has some good stories left in him that might be better than this. But even Reservoir Dogs is one of those movies you can't overlook for how tight that movie is.
Yeah. Now going back to the his big film Pulp Fiction, my big thing with that was always that I didn't consider it a single film. It was an anthological film with interconnected plot points, and because each character is going through their own story, and so I said it's a bunch of shorter films within a film.
We've had those before, but Pulp Fiction did it in a way that nobody, and that's why I judge it in that sense is like. I mean, if there is a movie like Pulp Fiction is just that album that changed history forever. You know what I mean? Like, there was never a movie before that like that, and only Tarantino has come close since, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Well,
it's more than a film. It was a fucking experience, right? Like, if you've seen
lack of training as a writer that made him be able to do that. It's why. Because a normal writer wouldn't have written those.
I think he would have matured better if Jackie Brown had been more successful. Because
here's probably Jackie Brown is one of those rare exceptions. Like it's aged much better than when it came out, and it did well at the box office. But I think you're right that it kind of gave him some shaky feet for a bit there, and he did kind of retreat for a couple of years, but. Like, I guess a better band analogy would actually be Tommy James and the Shondells. Okay, and stay with me for 2 seconds here. Like, Reservoir Dogs is basically hanky panky, and like Pulp Fiction is Crimson and Clover though, right? And then you get to like this kind of stuff. This is like way beyond Think We're Alone Now and all this stuff. This is more like Dragging the Line. Like this is, you have gotten to the point where you have perfected making one of these songs. Now, is it as good as some of your earlier stuff? Maybe, maybe not. Future we'll see on that, but it's damn good. You know what I mean? Like it's really tough to compare because all those songs I just named to you are iconic fucking songs, but they're from 3 different eras of Tommy James's career. And Hanky Panky, for fuck's sake, was recorded in a garage.
And if you guys don't know who Tommy is, he's one of the most prolific songwriters of the 60s.
Moni is another one I would bring in there too. Yeah. Like I mean, that's the thing. I mean, you could compare. He's probably more comparative to because like it's just they all sound so different, but yet they're all from the same person, and it's kind of weird how to the progression of the sound, because you hear Hanky Panky and it does sound like it was recorded in somebody's fucking garage, and then you hear Dragging the Line and that thing's like pure, well done produced music from beginning to end. Like I don't think there's a bad note or bad spot in the entire song, but you can literally hear the clanking of the foot pedal in Hanky Panky, for fuck's sake, on the drum set, right? I mean, that's what you love about it, and that's what Reservoir Dogs is you can see kind of the seams seeping through the film, but it doesn't matter at that point. But here, this is so well crafted. This is beautiful. Like every bit here, like this is a great scene to talk about this on.
This is the most beautiful scene in the film.
That's what I'm saying. Like the ability that they had to make these streets look, because that's the thing, is he used very little to no CGI in this movie.
And so these are actually shots
and
from the movie.
You're seeing, that they reconstructed, basically, yeah.
Yeah, because the even when she goes into theater, the clip.
I'm not talking about the movie itself. I'm talking about the actual sets and the where they're shooting it, because they actually redressed all like.
Well, this is downtown Beverly Hills, and
that's what I'm saying. They redressed it again to make it look like them. Yeah,
there's another theater catty corner to this one, and I pointed out to Anima when we watched the movie. I said Zoe and I went to see a movie there a few years back in 2017, and I loved going downtown Beverly Hills. It's just a gorgeous little town. But what I love is so far into the film, every time you see a reenactment of something, you have what's his name, DiCaprio, digitally put into the shot. Okay,
that is
but not
so
this
great
film.
how they did
not
it.
This film. This actually is a photo from a still from the movie with the real what's her name,
Sharon Tate. Yeah, they just used actual footage for Sharon because her and Margot Robbie are so close.
Real Sharon Tate. Yeah, they look so much alike, but at the same time, I thought that was nice that they did that.
I do dig the Great Escape scene with Leo in it, though. That is fucking.
Oh my god!
Yeah, I love that.
I love that shot.
Rumors they thought about me, but I didn't get to try out for it. Didn't get the part.
he was really there, and he admits it. I was only there to push Steve McQueen to take the role. They're trying to force him.
Yeah, the real tragedy with Sharon Tate is that her entire life got defined by how she died. Where
sadly,
if you look into her, she's actually a really amazing woman.
Well, and I think that's what this movie is trying to do, and I think that's where I think Tarantino also got a lot of crap for having her in the film, because everybody's like, "Oh, you're exploiting her, exploiting her." It's like, how's he exploiting her when he actually changes the one thing, like you just said, that she's defined by now, right?
It's
like,
there's an entire genre of movies there, the murder of Sharon Tate. It's insane.
Yeah.
What were you saying, Steven?
I said it's the one movie that doesn't exploit her.
Yeah. And just treats her like a person. Mm-hmm. Like you actually get to see her in this giddiness of like, oh my God, I'm watching myself in a movie and, all that kind of stuff. And just seeing her as a human being and not just, this big part of this other more, I don't know how you put it, but the whole helter-skelter business.
It's really sweet because she does tell the cinema people that she's in that movie, but she's not being the diva. She's like just so happy to watch.
You almost don't believe her at first too. That's what's funny.
It's just cute.
Now, I do want to point out this movie trailer that they're watching. That is for a real movie. It's called CC and Company, starring Joe fucking Namath, Anne Margaret and William Smith are in it. And it's a dumb film, but fun film. I remember watching this as a kid. And as I recall, the version I had the titties cut out. It's for TV.
I mean, if it wasn't the
There were
titties, it was
titties
the
in this
nipples,
movie.
because you Americans are terrified of nipples for whatever weird reason.
No,
I don't
we
know where
weren't.
you get that
No.
from.
We would throw them into
None of
any
us are.
Censor them. You censor them everywhere.
That's the
watching European
old white
You say
people.
You're so
I did
generalizing.
not agree to that.
It's one small
That's
group.
the one thing that some
One
of the
small
woke business
group.
is correct. Yeah, there was this like old biddies that used to be so worried about seeing titties, like
I'm just
They were the itty bitty titty committee.
well, it's the
just a-
same people that George Carlin used to make fun of with the 7 words you can't say.
yeah. The difference
Yep.
between US TV and European TV is just enormous. That it keeps jumping out on me because I'm so used.
Trust
to
me
Leah
here
showing
when I
Europe.
say this, a majority of Americans have no problem. It is a minority, a small
No.
group that have
but it
their
causes
hands
the whole
on the button.
industry. Yeah.
Well, and
It's a
here's the
small
problem.
group.
Here's what you have, Anima, is that you had a whole. Okay, you had a lot of people that feel like, and probably rightfully so, that the networks at least should be regulated to a point where that you don't have to worry for the most part for your kids seeing something they shouldn't see before 9 o'clock at night, right? Like that's
Right.
kind of the whole.
That's how it's
idea around
regulated
that.
over here.
That's what prime
Right.
time was for.
Well,
was
see,
for
the problem
family.
with that though is you have these Puritan fucking Bible thumping like old biddy committee, like I said before,
Yeah.
that used to kind of control everything. And God forbid you show some ankle. You know what I mean? Like, no, so yeah, I agree with you. There was this Puritan kind of thing for the longest time, but like the 80s came around and, you know, gay became more open culture. Fox became a thing, Fox Television, and they were just to the point where they would put on there everything they could up to the point of getting an FCC violation at that point. Like, and then it just kind of got where we got a little less Puritan, but it also kind of led us to where we're at now. So we kind of got to draw back a little bit on it. But
Yeah.
it's a funky situation in one of those.
Do you know
slippery
what
slopes
show
sometimes.
started the pathway to where people became more light on gay relationships? Is Barney Miller, because there was this gay couple that would appear
Oh, that's right.
regularly on the series, and it was the first series to do that.
Well, and
they
people
were a
also
funny
forget.
couple.
Well, people also forget half the gimmick of Three's Company was that Jack was always pretending to be gay, so he
Yep.
could live with those girls. Because at that time, especially, it was frowned upon for co-ed living like that if you weren't with somebody.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh.
What about Soap? I mean, you had a main
Oh, yeah,
character that
Soap.
was gay. So yeah, Billy
Yeah,
Crystal.
Billy Crystal.
Yeah.
Billy Crystal's character.
There's another one too. I'm trying to remember. And then Paul Chatto does his TV guide things, and there was Tony Randall. I think played a gay character very early on, even before I think he even came out of the closet for a show that didn't last that long. But it was like 1980 or 81.
Ironically,
or 82,
he never came out of the closet. Everybody
Yeah.
thought he was gay, but in the end, his wife even said it in the biography that she helped author. He was never gay. He was
I thought
very
he
straight.
was.
He was
Oh,
married
okay.
to his childhood sweetheart. He stayed with her his
That
whole
don't
life.
mean shit though, Geary.
Well, first,
I
No,
know,
she-
I know, but
I trust his wife, to be honest about
The
that.
two gayest
He-
motherfuckers in the world, Freddie Mercury and Elton John, both married women too. Sorry, that null and voids that whole
Well, he
argument.
was actually, and look, that was actually when he was bi, and he was actually in love with her. And
have a question.
I'm talking about Freddie Mercury. With the other one, I don't
Right.
know. Elton John, I think he was confused.
Elton
He
was still in
afraid of
denial,
being
but
gay.
Anima wants to say something. Yeah.
yeah, I have a question. Because these rumors were obviously around, and then his wife debunked them. Did he use them for publicity? Because people
No,
talking
he
about
never
this good.
he never responded to them. He never reacted to them. He just ignored them and went on about his thing. It's like the thing he admitted to. He says, "I'm fastidious," and it confuses people.
Yeah, no, but that's what I mean. He let people talk. He never reacted to it to keep the talk
Yeah.
going because they
Well,
were
he just
talking
didn't see
about
any point to react to it. He thought it was best to just not react to it.
Oh, I guess I owe him an apology for all the times I said he was.
A lot of people. I thought he was too. until I
Although
read
they
his
never
bi-
had
the book.
kids. No, I'm just kidding.
No, he did, and
I thought they said that it says here they didn't
his
have no
wife.
children.
His wife, his childhood sweetheart, died. They were childless, and then he married another girl that was like 25,
Oh,
30 years younger than him, and they had children. So,
The thing about
but
men is you can never be totally sure they didn't have kids or they don't have kids.
just remember,
I
Tom,
know it.
everybody suspects I'm gay.
well, we know you are.
Gary, as I've
me.
said a million
You-
times, you're a
Anima's
closet
just a
shield.
homosexual.
Oh, I'm not.
Anima
Tom.
is my beard.
I don't know about that.
Why am I even here?
Because
I
you
love this
are his
Only
beard.
triple Gary.
I love this when he yells at himself.
Gay, he's so happy. Gay, 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 gay.
There's a reason why Geary has all the same letters as gay.
That's right. You
If
spent-
he
you
actually
can't
spelled
spell-
it right.
You can't spell Gary without gay. But I love this scene where he's yelling at himself in the mirror.
Yeah. And this was improvised from what I remember too. A lot of this was, or not, if it wasn't this one, it's the one where he freaks out. That's the one that's improvised, where he throws everything and kicks the table and shit. Yeah.
Gary is gay with 2 extra.
Or was this the
powers.
same scene? I'm trying to remember now. It's been
No,
a
that's-
tick since I've seen it.
That's after he completely fucked up the scene. He's talking to himself in the trailer and shouting at himself about stopping to drink. And then he picks up a drink and takes a sip, and then he totally freaks out and throws the glass across. the
Okay, so yeah, this
table.
is the improvised scene. Yep, thank you, Anima. Because like, yeah,
That could totally be improvised. Yeah, that looks like it. Because
or at
he-
least a lot of it
that
was
good.
come up on the spot because like, yeah, that whole thing of like, you don't need a fucking drink and all that shit.
I like
This
that.
scene, by the way, Bruce Lee was her trainer for her to do this fight scene.
Right.
There's another connection to Bruce Lee.
Well, and that's another reason why he's so prominent in the film too, right? So like, yeah.
Something I should know, Gary? Maybe?
I don't know.
That's not pictures, that's video.
Oh
That's
my god.
video. Yeah, there's
Yeah,
video proof.
Gary's
of
the
that.
fan of many kinds of BBCs.
What?
BBC One and BBC Two. What did you think I was meaning?
They even have a song about it.
Mrs. Will ya make me tea? Make love
Yeah.
to me.
That's the song. You know the song.
Put on the
Yeah.
telly to the BBC. To the BBC. Yeah.
Yeah,
That was
yeah,
fucking
yeah.
Mike.
yeah.
BBC
Mike Myers.
One. BBC Two.
BBC Two.
Yeah.
I fucking love
I
that
did
song.
it
Mike
for
Myers.
Austin Powers, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, too bad he's insane.
Okay, here's where
You know,
is this where he
He's almost not as insane as some of the other celebrities anymore. Of course, I haven't heard any of his politics as of late, but I don't really care.
No, because the Love Guru effectively killed his career.
Well, that
I
was a
think
dumb
this-
move.
This is the scene with the acid cigarette.
And I'm trying to
she's
remember
just
who this
17.
actress is now too, because she's been in a bunch of stuff now recently.
Margaret
shit.
Qualley.
Oh, that's the
Thank
daughter.
you.
that we
Qualley,
brought up
she's,
earlier. It's Margaret
That's the
Qualley.
daughter, yeah.
Yeah, she's Annie McDowell's daughter.
Yep. And Tom, to relate to your favorite director, Harley Quinn Smith is in this movie near the end. She's the one that gets out of the car and doesn't go to murder Sharon.
Yeah, I know. And Tarantino's now my favorite director. Thank you very much.
Kevin Smith being favorite director is over. Now Tarantino is my favorite director.
Yeah, for the longest time, Tarantino was a close second, and Kevin had the tops probably, but no, he fucked that up good.
I
Here's
mean,
Tarantino just shoving it in your face that yes, I'm gonna put some foot shit in here. Deal with it.
I hated that scene in the car when she lies across his lap. I'm like, what the fuck?
The part that bothers me is she's got the fucking armpit hair. It's like, oh man, she's a dirty fucking hippie, and they really went all out.
She's a
Zoe-
hippie. I don't care, but she's not even 18 and doing that, and I'm just no. And
That's
he's
My
really-
daughter,
Target
Zoe,
Time.
was so fixated with becoming a hippie. And I looked at her, I said, don't ever do it. I will fight you tooth and nail to keep you from becoming a hippie. They're the most disgusting people. I was around them as a kid. They are gross.
Yeah, what kids think hippies were nowadays, they have no fucking clue.
I know.
The fucked up part was basically Manson had the control over the girls. So well, it's like, yeah, he literally had them have sex with people in order to gain
He was a pimp.
political power.
That's
All the
what
other
he even
crazy
referred to
shit.
himself as a pimp. I'm a pimp.
Yeah.
His cult was built up
Basically.
of people he was pimping out. And the men were just assistant pimps.
Yeah, and a lot of his revenge shit was purely ego-driven bullshit. I mean, like, that's one thing the movie does nail is that, I mean, a lot of what was going on there was he was trying to break into the music industry, so he was chumming up with people like in the Beach Boys and all that kind of shit.
Yep.
And he was, in his own mind, getting all these promises and shit from them. And even, like, I think it was, which one of the Beach Boys that he's looking for in here actually
Brian
recorded.
Wilson.
Brian,
He was looking for, I'm
Dave.
trying to remember.
Dave, I think it was. Wasn't it?
It's the
The other
drummer.
one. Yeah. But like one of them ended up recording one of his songs for him just to kind of basically appease him at that point. But it was a horrible fucking song. He's not that great of a songwriter to begin with. Like, so that's the other problem.
Now his poetry's much better. That's
But he fancied
Dennis.
himself some
It was
great
Dennis.
fucking
Dennis Wilson.
Dennis. That's what it is, not Dave. Dennis. Thank you,
And
Dennis.
he's the one who drowned in the Potomac.
Yeah.
He fucking died.
Well, a lot of people still think that a lot of that his depression that led to that started with a lot of this shit here. Yeah.
But he was
We've got to
bruised
keep
up
our
a
drummers
little
away
by-
from water, man. That is not a good mix.
Spinal
Although
Tap,
I do
yeah,
like that. What is that comedy movie, mockumentary about the rock band? There's Luke Perry, by the way. That's Luke Perry.
It's one of his last movies, or was his last movie?
It is his
This is
last
Spinal
movie.
Tap?
Yeah.
Well,
Spinal
Spinal
Tap.
Tap. Yeah, all the drummers
What about
died. Yeah.
drummers die? All the drummers
Four
die.
of
Like
them, yeah.
overdose.
They don't just die; they die in
choked on-
strange,
He
mysterious
choked on
ways.
some vomit.
But it wasn't actually his vomit.
Yeah,
They can't
right.
prove it. You can't exactly dust for vomit, now can you?
Right. It was a strange gardening accident that the police decided to just remain unsolved. You know.
It's best if it remains unsolved.
All right. This is the scene where he ends up throwing her to the ground, which wasn't planned.
Yep.
And she's just
This is
playing
the
it on,
scene.
and it's amazing. She's so good.
I really hope he does. See, because Tarantino says he's going to do a lot of things, and then he never does. He's almost like the white version of Guillermo del Toro.
Right?
Because he's
Oh
been
my
promising us these episodes of Bounty Law for a while now, and I wonder if he does Bounty Law. I would love to see him actually finish this, because we see more of this than we actually do a Bounty Law. But supposedly he's got like a 6-episode arc planned for Bounty Law that was partially filmed during this shoot. You know, the stuff they shot for the movie, but
In
it
the
still hasn't surfaced.
This-
hardcover version of the novel, there actually is a Bounty Law screenplay in it.
Yeah. So I know it's in the plan, but I just don't know if he's ever done. Now that's the other thing about, we were talking to Shanatsky or whoever brought it up earlier, that, or maybe it was Pat, who says they don't believe his whole 10 movie thing, because I'm kind of in the same place. Because he's already hinted he's going to do a lot more television. Well, and he's even said some cryptic-ish things about like how, you know, guys like him, clearly streaming is the future, hinting at like him and Scorsese and all that kind of, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I wonder if like the long form miniseries is kind of going to be where Tarantino goes, because especially considering a lot of his stories have been getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and he's a director where he can get away with it now. So I have a feeling that what he might do is do more of
And
that
that's
kind of
what
stuff.
maybe what he means by giving up on film and moving towards something else, which is really something Keith and I've been talking about since we started doing, is that you're watching the death of cinema as we knew it, but it's
Yeah.
being reborn as something else.
And the other part of that too is he's brought up how people forget how much of a love he has for television. And that's also what this movie does pay a lot of homage to. And he also loved the miniseries. Like there's tons of, like, he obviously has encyclopedic knowledge of movies in general, but what he does love to talk about is obscure miniseries, you know, that only showed once or twice on television. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't be surprised if that's kind of where he kind of dives into is a little bit more of that kind of avenue where you get like 2-3-part miniseries movies. Because I think even he got a taste of that, especially with Hateful Eight.
And by the way, it's Clayton Moore. That was the original Lone Ranger on TV. And that's who this story is based on. His run in there with the Manson people.
And then we're all about to see what was supposed to be the Burt Reynolds cameo.
Oh, yeah, from FBI, a show that I watch religiously. I love that show. It's available on the Warner
Well, no, he
Brothers,
was
the
supposed to play the part
Tubi.
that
Bruce Dern.
Bruce Dern plays. Yeah. But he died before they could get to it.
Oh, that I forgot about that.
Yeah, because that's why I said his relationship with Hal Needham is a big inspiration on this movie. And for those who don't know, Hal Needham and Burt made all the like the Smokey and the Bandit movies and Hooper and he was his stuntman when he was younger and stuff. And then when he couldn't do the stunts anymore, he turned into a director. And of course, it was kind of like a cool, there's a movie in that just in and of itself of how like Hal and him worked together and how, Burt, he was his stuntman for the longest time. And then when he became the director is what Smokey and the Bandit's the movie that set Burt to superstardom, right? Like he was a star, but he wasn't like a superstar. After Smokey and the Bandit, it was like Burt Reynolds was more than a household name.
Yeah, Smokey and the Bandit.
People can understand how Burt Reynolds permeated the fucking culture in that era. I don't know if people can understand that.
I do. I mean,
by
people
the way,
who are old enough
like me, Geary, and stuff like that can, but like to the youngins out there listening, that's what I'm trying to. You guys have no idea how fucking big Burt Reynolds was.
Yeah, but
that movie was only put to number 2 by Star Wars.
This is how big Burt was. Burt kicked the shit out of Lonnie Anderson, and most people were like, shit, Lonnie must have fucked up.
Right.
Sorry, that's a bad joke, but it's almost true. People fucking just forgot about it and let it go. They're just like, yeah, he does it. It's Burt Reynolds. What are you going to do?
You mean Kurt Ferguson?
She wasn't the only one, and he was a piece of shit a lot of the time. I'm sure there's tons of fucking stories about him, but he was just huge. I wasn't even born yet. That's the thing. I was born into a world where Burt Reynolds and Michael Jackson were probably the 2 biggest people on the planet. And maybe John Travolta besides that, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's the world I was born into. So, yeah.
But yeah, this whole
Prince was still a
here,
twinkle in the eye of MTV, but yeah.
This whole scene here is the closest we've ever gotten to Tarantino doing an actual horror movie. I kind of wish he would actually do one because he already loves blood and over the top shit.
Well, I mean, you can consider. I kind of consider From Dusk Till Dawn his in a way, even though Rodriguez directs it.
He did the crime part. He didn't. Rodriguez did the horror part.
True, but you also have. Don't forget. I almost called it Bulletproof, not Bulletproof.
Death Trap.
Death Proof.
Well, Death Proof.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah.
And I like Death Proof. And by
And
the way,
I agree with you. He should do a flat out slasher film.
Well, they're saying Kurt Russell's character in this movie is related to that stuntman.
The one that you were talking about?
Yeah,
the Death Proof guy.
Yeah, because I think
Kurt
that's
Russell's
a novel, actually. Correct me if I'm wrong, because Steven, didn't you say something about, because I have the book too, but I haven't read it all yet. But I think in the book, don't they allude to his grandfather being that stuntman or something like that?
Yes. It is. It's considered, canon that they are related. So I love that Quentin Tarantino does this world building shit.
Sure, like Vince and Vic Vega, right? The 2 Vega brothers,
right?
I still hope he does. Like, I know he's talked about doing it animated now because he can't do it, the one way. But I would love to see him do the Vega Brothers movie.
Well, they're too old because surprise one.
Yeah, but they can do the voices.
Yeah.
You got to have somebody else to probably do
de-aging.
No way. You'd have to either recast completely and do it like when they're really young, or you'd have to do like animation. And you're right, you'd almost have to have somebody else come in and do what's his face's voice now because he is too far gone.
I'm gonna hate myself if I don't ask this while Tom's still here, but because I have to ask this. Tom, you know, Tarantino talks about how he likes to do this genre and he wants to do this, and you know, and a lot of people have said, well, he hasn't done this, like he hasn't done a true horror stuff like this. But I know, I let me preface it with this: I know Uma Thurman probably would not do it. But do you think he could pull off the trilogy and actually make a palatable Kill Bill 3 that
I
wouldn't
would
diminish the
I don't know
first
what to
two?
do it. There's a lot of, I don't know. I think there's a lot more that people speculated and put to the whole Tarantino has a problem or she has a problem with him thing than there was, because she actually helped her case, or he helped her case. He was the one who got the video that I think Harvey was trying to block that ended up winning her case. So as far as I
It may
know,
have been his fault, but I think they're good now.
and I don't think it was his fault technically. I think it was something else involved with that, even though, you know, he was the director. It was, I'm trying to
He's
go
the one
back
who
and
told her it
remember.
was safe. He told her.
Yeah,
it was
he
safe.
told her, but he got the okay from the production assistant guy or whatever it was, and
Yeah, and don't
so,
forget they were holding him back on that because of budget. That's what the biggest
yeah,
problem was.
and that
a
was the thing.
budget
So it
constraint.
boiled down to Harvey. That was all I know. So she was suing the studio, and I think Harvey was trying to block that footage from getting out, but Tarantino ended up getting it to her and her lawyers or whatever, from my memory. So, and as far as I know, they're on good terms. And she was actually just recently on a Pulp Fiction reunion deal. Tarantino wasn't there, but she was speaking. Like the first thing she fucking said was, "This is all Quentin. Like if it wasn't for Quentin, we wouldn't be here today." Like that was her whole thing. Like so, like I'm sitting here going, "Well, boy, she must not have that much animosity towards him to where, like, her whole thing is like, yep, Quentin is all this shit. And it's really sad that he's not here, you know, kind of thing." Because like, yeah, that was the thing. It was like her and Travolta and God, who else was there? It was her, Travolta.
Was
I
it
think
Jackson?
maybe it was Samuel
Jackson?
Jackson, and obviously not Bruce Willis, but I'm trying to
Right.
remember
Yeah.
there was
Unfortunately.
4 of them there. I don't remember if it was Harvey Keitel or somebody else. But like that was the whole thing, because like they were all saying like, yeah, this is the first time all of us have been together since then, and it's really, you know, they mentioned like, yeah, it's sad Tarantino couldn't make it, but yeah, all that kind of stuff. But no, I don't think there's any animosity. So I think that Kill Bill 3 is a good plausibility at some point. I just don't know if it's, see, Tarantino, he gets, see, like, look what happened with The Critic. Like for over a year,
Yeah.
he was like, that's the movie he was going to make. It was, I heard that it was headed into, it was full bore pre-production when he shut it down. And it was really just him going, you know what? I think I can do better than this. And he just decided, no, I'm done. He's got like a few scripts like that, I guess, that he's just got sitting there. So I would never say never. And the other thing would go back to the whole, like, is he done making movies or not thing? Even if, you know, the whole, he goes to television, does some of that stuff, I still think he'll come back to movies at some point simply because he's going to get bored. Because one of his big reasons for wanting to get away from making movies is he doesn't like being away from his family for so long. And he's got young kids right now. But guess what? Those kids grow fast. And you
Look how
all know
big their
anybody.
foreheads are.
Any one of us who has kids knows once they hit a certain age, they ain't got no time for you. And guess what? He's gonna have empty nest syndrome like a motherfucker, and he's gonna go, shit, I'm fucking bored. And he's gonna write probably one of the funniest comedies we've ever seen, or one of the scariest movies we've ever seen, or one of the kick-ass action movies we've ever seen about being a parent we've ever
I
seen.
think one of the
Like,
scariest,
something like that.
He never
I'm
said he
serious. I
wasn't gonna
think
stop
one of the
writing.
scariest things you could see is like the real life family of the Tarantinos. With those kids, got to have gigantic foreheads.
Oh Jesus! As
Like
far as I know, his wife is
mutations.
pretty good looking. I haven't seen his kids, so I can't speak to that.
Knowing,
And I think he's got like 3, if I'm not mistaken. I think 2 boys and a girl, or 2 girls and a boy. I can't remember. Maybe you're just 2, one of each. I can't remember, but yeah. But no, I still think Kill Bill 3 is a plausibility. I almost wonder if he'll start, like, see, now that's a movie I could see him giving to like Rodriguez or something like that and saying, here, you do it. You know what I mean? Because he's like, I still want to see it, but I don't have the passion for it anymore, or something like that. So you never know.
you know, I'd like to see. I mean, I know he'll probably never do it. His version of Natural Born Killers.
You know what's weird is, like, from what I understand, I know I haven't got my hands on it yet, but I know his script is finally out there because they finally let him release it.
Yeah. Yeah,
But it's
Oliver
tough to get
Stone
your hands
completely
on.
wrote the thing. It's a completely different.
Yeah, I don't know how different it is because, like, you listen to his talking about it. In some stories, it's like he completely changed it. In other stories, it's just little things he changed that he didn't like.
Oh no!
So it's like, which is it?
It would be great because who you could bring from Natural Born Killers because he was the actual lead. The reporter guy.
Oh, Robert Downey
That's
Jr.
who it was supposed to be. No. Yeah, Iron Man. Motherfucking Iron Man.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see. Here's the thing: I had like this years and years and years where I disdained that movie because of what Tarantino said, and then it came out on 4K not long after I seen some interview where he was talking about like he's like, well, I don't hate the movie. He's like, in fact, I think he even said he has never even seen the whole movie or something like that in one sitting or something. I don't remember how he put it, but he's like, there was this scene that he did, and I agreed with Rodney Dangerfield because I didn't know what he was doing with the sitcom bit there. That is not how I wrote that, and that's not what that scene's supposed to be about. And there was just a few things, and he's like, the ending was supposed to be a lot more like true romance was or whatever. And he's like, I don't feel like Tarantino. I don't think Stone really captured what the essence of what I was trying to say. What I was trying to say, I got better with True Romance. He said. And he goes, that's where I had a much better relationship.
I'm very fond of that movie.
And he said he had a much better relationship working with Tony Scott because it seemed like Tony Scott got it. And the few changes that Scott made, he didn't seem to mind as much, and he understood. But it's I think most of this is from his commentary for True Romance, to be honest with you. But I consider which to this day is the only one he's ever done a movie a commentary for. Sorry, Gary.
I don't think I'm having some lag or something. You guys aren't hearing me. So I was going to add in there that I believe that is absolutely the best thing he ever wrote is True Romance. It's his best.
I don't know if it's his best, but it's definitely his most. It's one of his most personal stories, and it's probably a good thing he didn't direct it. Because I know a lot of that is stuff that he pulled from his real life. Like some of that's based on an actual like. Not like obviously the drug dealer part and all that business, but like somebody he met and stuff like that. Cause like obviously the one character with the whole being into movie, like he is Christian Slater in that movie, right? Like that's
the Sicilian scene is a like brilliant.
That is a classic moment in cinema history.
Oh, Dustin Hoffman and Christopher Walken scene. Oh, hell yeah.
Oh yeah. Not Dustin Hoffman, Dennis Hopper.
Did I say Dustin Hoffman? I meant Dennis Hopper. Yes, thank you.
They're both DH names.
It'd have been a much different scene with Dustin Hoffman in it. I'm talking here. Yeah,
I showed that scene to
Anima. I can't even see the lines.
When you can't even get into that. No. Came out of nowhere, and it was, he goes out of character because he's no longer got the weird speech pattern that Ratso Rizzo has. Suddenly he's Dustin Hoffman yelling at a taxi cab driver, but the director loved it so much he kept it in the film.
What scene are you talking about?
In Midnight Cowboy, where he and what's his name, John Voight are walking across the street.
The most famous scene in the movie, yeah, where he's like, "I'm walking here,"
and this New York taxi driver pulls into the scene and almost hits him. And he slams his hands down on the front. I showed it to you multiple times, not once. And basically, Dustin Hoffman goes out of character and yells at him. He goes, "Can't you see
when he's losing it?" Yeah, I remember. Sorry.
Yeah, because didn't he go through the barricade they had set up or some shit like that too? Like he wasn't. Yeah. Either way, yeah, I love it when little moments like that.
Now that's
happen.
Tarantino's wife, as I recall, his real wife, right there.
His real life wife, yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Well, he's much better.
She's from Israel and has a very thick accent in real life. But here she's doing Italian, which is great.
She is fucking hilarious.
Yes.
So I'll tell you, nepotism aside, like I didn't even realize that till later on, and I'm like, because she is one of the highlight, like between her and the dog and shit at the end, like those two steal the end scene.
Yeah, I know. He hits the girl. The girl turns back to her. Then she screams, throws her hands up, and runs away from her.
And then the bit with the dog at the door. Yeah, it's brilliant. Like
Oh,
Tarantino
that's
made sure
Bruce
she
Lee
looks
again,
good.
by the way.
Yeah.
That was Bruce Lee
Yeah.
training Sebring.
Yep. You know, there were spoilers for this movie that came out that weren't true, but I kind of wish they were because it actually sounded like an awesome climax. Which the
Oh, yeah.
version that I had saw it said that like Sharon Tate gets kidnapped, they go into a Western set, and then it's like Cliff and what the main guy's name? I can't remember off the top of my head. They basically do like an Old West shootout, and then Bruce Lee joins in.
Yeah, I heard that too.
Dalton?
Yeah. It was going to be like an Old West shootout with like Kung Fu and all this other shit.
I don't
like,
see Tarantino. That sounds more like somebody trying to come up with something Tarantino would do.
I don't know. It's just that it's someone.
Because that's pretty much the end of Django Unchained.
It was a fake spoiler, but I'm just going Bruce Lee on a Western set killing the Manson family would be.
And that's where if I'd heard that, I said, I don't believe you in my best anchor man because
yeah, no, it's
I'd be like, that's the exact same ending as his last movie. So yeah, no. Or movie before, whichever one it was, yeah. Yeah, because he did Hateful Eight in between. Yeah, you're right.
Now, you know, I'm going to point out, because Bruce Lee is shown here near the end of the film, and imagine if they had gone just a little more into the fantasy and had Bruce Lee there that night to help kill these guys.
Oh,
see, that would have been fun.
Heck yes.
That would have been fun.
Imagine that.
Yes, please.
Oh yeah, he
in-
comes to yell at Booth. They're about to go fight, and then they turn and look.
Exactly.
Like,
they start to. They're in the middle of an argument when they break in.
Well, what's hilarious is how funny the last scene in the movie is, like the whole bit. So I remember I saw it in a pretty packed theater.
Beautifully gory, but it is hilarious. Dude.
I mean, there was sparse chuckles throughout, depending on the scene. Like I was loving this movie from beginning to end, so I was probably annoying some people. But by the time we got to that end bit, like everybody was with the movie at that. You could tell the audience was totally with it. They loved all of it. They were laughing and cheering, and it was fun. You know, it was a great ending, and I think it was pitch perfect. And then it's topped off with the whole bit with Leo, you know, talking to the guys next door and shit, and getting invited and stuff. And I love his line there. And they're like, "Is everybody okay?" He's like, "Yeah, everybody's fine." Well, not those guys. They're fucking dead.
It's just so over the top that it's perfect.
Yeah, it is.
It's overkill. I mean, him smashing her face in, and she is foobar and still alive and screaming and still trying to kill him. It's so over the top. You cannot get it better than that.
It's one of those things of if you don't have the context for the actual history of what happened and the result of this, it doesn't make any sense. But the context for it, which is what they're counting on, is that you know what they did and you know the results of what they did. So this is
the fact that he does in Susan Atkins in the way that he does, knowing in real life what she did, fucking poetic justice, man.
Yep. And our last two real movie stars in this movie too. Leo and Brad.
Hello.
Howdy.
I don't know. I'm bummed out of Shanowski's statement. It just kind of made me sad.
What?
The conversation that they have in the car, that to me is like the whole SJW thing. Like, oh, but we should do this terrible thing to the people that we view are terrible.
They're the ones who taught us to kill with these shows.
Yeah. We're not responsible.
Well, and this is also Tarantino commenting on every fucking time of reporters going, what do you think? Don't you think your movies are too violent? Aren't you worried that you're going to influence somebody?
Oh, fuck that.
Yeah, people.
Wes Craven used to get asked that all the time. Scorsese gets asked that shit all the time.
And the cherry on top of the cake is that to finally kill that furious girl screaming with her face beaten in the pool is the flamethrower. I loved it.
Well, and the beauty of that anima is that the over the top, like, and that's usually his rebuttal. I mean, of course, I'm paraphrasing what he usually says, but it's like, He's usually like, look, if you take the violence of my movies so seriously, then you got a problem. It's like most of the violence of my movies is so over the top, I find it hilarious. Right?
And
Like
these
that's
scenes
the
are
point.
funny.
Exactly. They are. They're fucking hilarious. Even though as bad as it is, as gruesome as it is, this thing is more gruesome than some horror films.
I
But I
mean,
don't
my
remember
God, when he's
laughing as hard as
bashing
I
her
did at this
face-
movie at that point.
When he's bashing her
Multiple
fucking
times.
face into
Yeah.
the fireplace, I'm like, there comes a point where, he should stop, but he continues.
Yes,
He
and
just
she's
keeps
still
going.
alive. She's like a cockroach. The only thing that kills her is fire. I probably shouldn't have said that.
No, it's fine. There's a weird paradox when it comes to violence in movies, and this has to do with ratings, what people get offended by. If it's, in essence, bloodless or comedic or whatever, people have no problem with it. But if you depict violence as horrendous, painful, dragged out, i.e. the terrible thing that's supposed to be, suddenly everyone wants your film pulled.
Yeah, but the brilliant thing is he does both. It's funny as fuck and it's brutal at the same time. I mean, the dog biting that guy's junk. And not letting
God
go.
damn, he bites that guy's fucking groin and again, you know who that was? That's like heartthrob Austin Butler.
I
fucking getting-
know.
Junk ripped apart by that dog. And I love the cue that he gives him. He clicks. And that fucking dog goes to town. Fucks
Yeah.
him up. But the whole scene, he goes,
enjoyed-
Are you real?
I enjoyed the shit out of that scene. And you know that Austin Butler these days is my number 1 eye candy, but that scene was so funny.
Well, it's just he's tripping on that LSD dipped
Yeah.
cigarette.
Oh, yes.
And
Yes, it's cigarette.
so he's looking at him and he goes,
Yeah, I know
Are
you.
you guys real? And then he comes to that point, he goes, Wait a minute. I know you guys.
It's a perfect ending to a really good
I remember
movie.
your white face, and I remember you. And then he looks at Tex and he goes, "I remember you had a cowboy name. It was, and how does he do that? I can't remember because he thinks it's Dex or
Yeah.
something.
Because he has the lines as I'm the devil and I'm here to do the devil's work.
No,
Nah,
it's something
stupid.
stupider than
dumber than that.
Yeah, something dumber than that. Oh my fucking
Dallas,
God.
let's go. That's it. Dallas.
Tex. He's Tex.
Or Tex. That's it. Yeah, Tex.
Yeah.
Nah, it was
And
something
fuck.
dumber than that.
And then
Which
the guy
is
pulls
that's
the trigger
exactly
back.
what. Sorry, I was just gonna
No, I
say,
was just
and
gonna say,
that
he pulls the trigger back and he does the sound. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
that line is actually what one of the killers said, supposedly. The whole "I'm the devil, I'm here to do the devil's work" or whatever.
Really? Wow.
Yep.
Oh yeah, that's yeah. Well, man.
What is that?
I don't know. Somebody's got their phone doing something.
I was worried about my cooling device being loud in the background, but that was
Yeah, I don't know if that was. I don't think that was you. Somebody moved their computer or their phone. Or
Yeah, it
something.
sounded like something moved. So we got this whole scene going on, and the whole time, DiCaprio's character, Rick Dalton, is like got his headset on out on the pool. There he goes. I remember your white face. Oh my God, I love this scene.
Yeah,
so
that's
fucking
right.
much.
He's out in the pool chilling until the girl with the bashed in face comes out screaming and drops into the pool.
Do you have that clip ready? Let's do that real
Yep.
quick.
So
God, this scene
what's
is
coming
so
up?
fucking insane.
You see?
The best
I'm gonna
bit of
skip ahead.
irony is coming up because dying from a flamethrower in the middle of a pool.
Yeah, right?
You
know
swear
what
she's
crossed
being
my
eaten by a
mind in that
shark.
scene, Gary?
What?
She's basically half of her body is an open wound. That pool water must burn so badly.
Yeah, but she's splashing around and screaming like a shark victim.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
God damn, almost burned my face off. Anything you can do about that? It's a flamethrower.
Yeah, I know.
It's
It's a
too fucking
flamethrower.
hot, right?
Yeah, good
Yeah,
point.
oh, you weren't here earlier. Do you still have that clip, Martin?
Yeah, play the clip.
Play that clip again because Tom loves that scene. It's our
God
favorite.
damn.
Okay,
Almost burned my face
One of
off.
the funniest lines in the film.
It actually sounds like something a prima donna Hollywood star would say. You know?
Wasn't that improvised? I'm trying to remember.
Probably.
Yeah.
Then again, it's so funny. I might not be like Tarantino. Like people forget how fucking funny he is. Like, I mean, people classified Pulp Fiction as a comedy because they didn't know how else to classify it.
Because it is funny as hell.
It is if you think about it in the broad scheme of it. Yeah,
For sure. The whole coffee scene, dude.
I
That's
mean,
like
the whole shooting his face off and then the coffee scene.
Or just the guy
Why'd you shoot
unloading
Marvin in the
all of his
face?
bullets, and then they look down like, what the? And they just shoot him. That's comedy.
the Pop-Tart scene, the whole Zed scene, for fuck's sake.
Oh yeah, Zed's dead.
Whose chopper is this? Quarter Royale with cheese.
Yeah, that's actually one of my that one and the massage conversation are my two favorite conversations in the film.
Yeah.
When
Give
they're in
me
the
a
car
foot
talking
massage?
about
Fuck
burgers.
you.
Ain't nothing sexual about a massage. You gonna give me a foot massage? I said, fuck you. Hi, Bags. Sorry, kitty cat came to visit me.
Oh, your buddy Bags?
Yeah.
Oh.
He just
Man,
came
I
over to see
shot
what I was
Marvin in
doing.
the face.
What'd you shoot Marvin in the face for?
I got
Shoot
Marvin
him
all
in the
over
face.
me. By the way, did you ever see that special edit where somebody went in with the fake software and put Seinfeld's face on the guy,
Mm-mm.
the actor that kind of looks like Seinfeld?
No.
Fires all the bullets at him and misses them, and it ends when it cuts to them. It's the in between shot music of Seinfeld.
Boom, 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 boom.
Yep, that.
What's the deal with bad guys that can't shoot?
This is a great scene. You know, Cliff's going off to get treated, and here he is. His life is really starting to come together. This shit happens, and he thinks, well, this is the end of my career. I got what I wanted, and then he fucking meets Sharon Tate, and they didn't get killed, and so he's going to get his fucking dream. You know he's going to.
Well, have you seen that interview where Tarantino explains what happened to Rick after the movie?
No, I haven't.
Oh, it's a fun clip. It's a fun clip.
What did he say?
He basically gets like this whole third stage of his career, and he basically he's the Andrew Prine part in Grizzly. He goes off and he does this series of films for Canon called The Fireman, which Cliff actually wrote and directed. Well, he wrote it for Rick, and Rick ends up, I think, directing it with Cliff doing the stunt coordination and was second unit director and whatnot. And basically, the story of The Fireman is he's a detective, and a young Samuel L. Jackson is his partner. And they find out that the other cops in their precinct are corrupt, and they kill Jackson, and Rick goes on this whole revenge spree, killing bad guys. You know, and it's a Canon film, so there you go.
Oh shit, that'd be kind of cool.
Exterminator, the 80s movie
Kind
with
of-
the flamethrower.
Yeah, Yeah.
Yeah, because that's why I'd love to see Leo put into, because the guy has blonde hair and is very similar build to Leo, so it'd be really easy to just put his face on him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And-
I really do like this film, and I think it's I consider it some of his best because of the fact that one of my greatest criticism of his is a lack of understanding of cohesive storytelling, and also the problem he has with following structure, screenplay structure. Because his first act's solid, second act meanders all over the fucking place, and third act goes its own direction. And it's, I mean, it can be entertaining, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, it's frustrating watching it. And this, you know, because he, like, if you go back to Inglourious Bastards, that whole opening scene is act one, that's its own fucking movie. And I said that was price of admission right there for me.
Do you think
That
this
whole
is a
opening
problem
scene.
that's in more of his latter films or his early films or all of his films?
Well, the problem with him with his early films is the lack of originality. His
Okay, because
ori-
I think I might know the answer to your or why he has this second act problem, at least in his latter part of his career.
yeah, because
Because when he
does
lost
it with-
Sally Menke, like I think that really changed because she was his main editor up until she passed away. And when that happened, I think he's worked with 2 or 3 other editors since then. And she seemed to be the only one who just kind of got his rhythms best, I would say. Because I agree with you, like Django is a bit janky at times. I actually prefer the longer cut of Hateful Eight than I do the theatrical cut.
Ditto. And I preferred watching it on Netflix as a series.
Yeah.
And it worked for me a lot better.
Works better as a miniseries, I agree. Yeah, and
I still hate that they left in the narration. It's like, take it out.
This
It's
is
not needed.
I agree with you. There's bits in the second act that meander a bit. You probably could have got through a little quicker. But in this film, but like I would say this is probably one of his better edited films of his last half dozen films or whatever it was that since Sally has been gone that hasn't been around to edit. So like again, it's I see where you're coming from, but again, to me, I'm one of those with Tarantino. They always end too soon. Like I could stay in these worlds forever.
Oh yeah,
and that's kind of
great at world building.
Yeah.
Now here's another strange thing about Quentin Tarantino is one of his best screenplays is of course Pulp Fiction, which I believe is an anthological series of short stories that interconnect.
I see where you're coming from,
Which
but
I
it's
like
kind of a
that.
new way of doing it, right? Like it's kind of
I
how
like it, but Roger Avery co-wrote that with him.
Yeah.
And he ended their relationship abruptly.
No, there's a
explanation.
whole bunch
He
of
just
stuff
disappeared.
behind that. Yeah.
You know, and I've always wondered what the fuck happened because I thought the work they did together was good. I thought that he helped him as a writer. Am I wrong in my assessment?
No, yeah, I think there's this whole fight that happened to even get him actually nominated as well. Because this is the unfortunate thing that happens with scripts in Hollywood, as you know, that, like some amazing work gets done, but then, I want sole credit or I want sole credit, and then arbitration has to happen. I'm trying to remember what happened with.
There's 2 sides to the story, and I've always tried to get both of them. And I don't think Tarantino's talked about it obviously nearly as much as the other party has, because clearly in the one version of the story, it's Tarantino who wanted all the credit and lied and obfuscated his way to getting.
Because that's
the
what I
credit.
heard too. I heard that part.
And he's still credited. So like I don't know what his bitch and gripe is there. And he
Roger is
also
still
won
on
the
there.
Oscar. He also won the
He got
Oscar
to
with
go
it.
up
So
on there.
I
He
don't
went up on
understand
stage.
what the gripe and bitch was there. But my understanding is that it had something more to do with, and it sounds to me like the fact that it's Quentin Tarantino's Pulp Fiction. And I think this individual, the residuals aren't as nice as they would like. So I think in hindsight, they're having like, what do you call it?
Money. It's usually in like money.
Yeah, I think it has more to do with the fact that Tarantino was the one who is the face of this and is technically the star of his own movies. And this guy unhitched his wagon probably from Tarantino at the wrong time and is regretting that. And at the same time, yeah, Tarantino got a bit egotistical and through certain, it may be true that through arbitration, he had to fight to get certain things to where he got his name over the title the way he did. But I don't think he really would have, considering John Carpenter has never had a problem getting his name above the title. And that's always something he has in his contract,
because that's his film,
whether he wrote the motherfucker or not. So like
his movie. That's right. I'm the director. I have final say. And it's sort of like, okay, like I've got this script. Tom, I don't know if you heard, Tom Conkle has greenlit moving forward with my script, The Darker. Okay, it's a vampire story. I have about 60 pages written of a 90 to maybe 100-page script. I'll acquiesce and say maybe 100, but I would prefer it to be about 90 pages long when done. And Shinatsky is stepping in with me. I had done a little bit of work with my buddy Joe Zeitz, a Marine buddy of mine, and my buddy Charlie. They wrote just a couple of scenes here and there, but fact is, in the end, I'm probably gonna have to rewrite a lot of what they did in order to make sure that it meshes with what I wrote. And I brought Shinatsky in. Now, let's say we get some stupid Razzie Award for the film. How would that go? I would tell you exactly how it would go. I'm story creator. I created the story. I wrote the original outline synopsis. I wrote most of the script. And Shinatsky would be right up there with me anyway, if there was an award. I probably wouldn't invite Joe, but I would thank them for the work they did. But Shinatsky would be right up there with me. But we'll never win an award because people don't like me for a reason. And it's good reason.
Jagari, aren't you an award-winning artist?
Yes, I am. But if they had known who I was before they gave the award, they wouldn't have done it.
They probably regretted it ever since. Like they found out and were like, damn, we shouldn't have.
Yeah, and the only thing I'm an award-winning thing on, it's like a lot of my books that I've done artwork for won awards. I'm not an award winner. I'm an award winner only for one book, Cudward Geronimo, because I was the creator of that book, and it got best military graphic novel it's the first graphic novel ever to be given the award by the Military Writers Association of America.
See, I've had the opposite happen when I was in high school. We had like a local access cable station, and there was like, the youth awards and whatnot. And someone, because the roles that they had for it, decided to put my name on as thing, and it ended up winning an award. And I was pissed because I basically didn't do anything. Like, I want credit for what I do, good or bad. I don't want, things I didn't earn, as it were.
Yeah, because I'm funny about that. I don't really care much about accolades, but it's like with the whole Blade Runner special features on the Final Cut. I think the only thing I was miffed about, because I thought it was wonderful what Charlie did, mentions Blade Zone, everything that I created. I didn't care if you mentioned my name. I really didn't. But when it came down to how Drew Struzan came into the picture to do that cover, I was directly involved with that. And that I didn't get mentioned, and that bugged me just a little bit, because that wouldn't have happened if I hadn't interceded.
Yeah.
And introduced Charlie to Drew Struzan.
Yeah, credits.
I rarely get pissy about things like that, but that hurt a little bit. I don't know why. It hurts a little.
Well, also, like, I've worked in games, and one of the things that does happen every so often is that you could end up, like, being brought in late on a game, but those credits that they have, and sometimes it's like a pre-rendered video, they get locked. So sometimes there's people that literally do major work on a video game, and they don't even get any credit because they came too late in and the credits have already been locked into place. Meanwhile, people get fired and aren't even with the company anymore, and they're in the credits. So it's like an art form almost, accreditation. You can't just go, yep, this, because like writing, if there's a million rewrites of a script and someone does a final pass, is the final pass person then the writer? I mean, the way
it'll end up that way. You look at
You're right.
so many films that ended up that way. Because Hampton Fancher wrote the main screenplay for Blade Runner, and Ridley wasn't happy with it, and they got into an argument. And then he brought David Peoples in, and Peoples went into the script and he goes, "This is a really good script. What do you want me to change?" And so he goes in and he makes little alterations here and there, and really like, "This is really good, but we need one more run at it." And so he turned it over to both of them to work together on it, and which Hampton wasn't too happy about at first, but then found out the two of them got along really well. And they went back and they did interviews with Philip K. Dick before he died, and on this character, and it ended up working out. And it's a great script, but who's the real final writer of that script? Same thing goes for, oh my God, and Tom, you'll know a lot about this, Apocalypse Now.
Oh yeah, that's a whole
Uh,
there's a
I-
whole bunch into that. I do got to run though, Gary. I'm really, really, really sorry. I'm
Buddy, I
glad I did
appreciate
get to
you
hop in
stopping
for a
in.
bit.
I
Yeah, I
appreciate
should
it,
have left
man.
like 10, 15 minutes ago, but no, thanks again, guys, for having me. I love getting to talk about movies we love, and especially when people say
I'll
all I
see
do
you
is fucking hate
Saturday.
everything. Yes, I should hopefully be there. I will, fingers crossed, unless something comes up, I'll let you know.
We'll
Because
have
everything has been
remember,
thrown into a tizzy
We're
lately.
gonna have some fun
So,
this weekend. Beverly Hills
all
Cop
right.
2.
I
See you,
hope so.
brother.
Fingers
Tom.
crossed. All right. Yes.
Tom,
Bye.
remember, make God
Okay.
happy. Flamethrower a hippie.
All right. Sounds good. Take care, guys.
Later.
See you, buddy. It's a new kill move on one of the video games. On the keys, you hit A, B, Y, and it kills the hippie with the flamethrower.
Yep.
So, but before we wrap up here, because we do need to get going here. This is such a good film. I really do love this movie, and I feel like watching it again this week. But we got other stuff we got to do. Damn it! So I'll probably have to watch it like on my own time, not when Anne and I are watching movies. And because it's just a movie that
there's no way we have time to watch this. We have so much
I
stuff
just
to
said
watch
that.
now that I'm back at work. No,
I just said
you
that,
need to
baby.
watch that on your own time. No, you
I
said
will.
you probably. I'm confirming you do
Well,
have to.
Yeah,
watch
that's
from
that's
the
me
time.
your time.
saying I'm going to. When I say I'm probably going to have to watch that on my own, I'm saying, yeah, I'm going to have to watch that on my own. I
I
already
still
knew
don't
that.
know how we're going to fit in those 3 episodes before Friday, so we can finish.
My
the show.
God. Would you like some
I got
cheese
long
with that
days.
wine?
Fuck you, Gary. By the way, though, with this
Thank you,
movie,
Shanatsky.
this movie, the year coming out, like when the trailer came out to the end of the year, it makes me kind of happy, makes me kind of sad. I knew that this is probably going to be the only movie I'm actually going to love this year, and it was.
That's
I didn't
funny.
love anything else I saw in 2019, but this movie.
I will tell you right now, guys, this popped up, and so I posted about it today. I've talked about Gypsy. She's somebody I knew personally, and I wrote up here, that this just bothers me that she's got her own show. This is opening wounds for that family, the Blanchard family.
She
And I
needs
wish they
therapy,
wouldn't do
not a
this.
stage.
Yeah, this is ridiculous. She reached out. Her and her husband reached out to me to rekindle our friendship, and I'm like, no, I'm good. It's look. She was misused by her mother. He absolutely may have suffered from Munchausen syndrome. There's no question about it. But she was also forced to do some of the things she did, and we met her. We thought she was a 12-year-old girl. She was actually 19, pretending to be disabled and conning people out of money. She got artwork from me, all sorts of stuff. And it hurt all of us when it happened. But what hurt too is that even though her mother was just a horrible human being for doing what she did to her, to be ended that way with a knife, brutally stabbed to death. And that she proclaims that she really isn't responsible for that was all him. And I'm like, you were right there with him when it happened, telling him it had to happen. I read the confession. And so this whole thing is disturbing. She's out. God bless her. I hope she has a good life. but that bugs the crap out of me. Then there's this post today that made me chuckle because, like, Justin Timberlake allegedly had traces of Molly, poppers, Truvada, and coke in his bloodstream following the DWI arrest in New York. To which I responded, "So you can get high from licking his back, like those toads in Colorado? I'm asking for a friend."
Oh, what happened was he just licked Britney Spears once, and then he was good.
Oh yeah, man, kiss her. You kiss every fucking drug she's ever taken. So hey, but this Friday we're doing this show. We're going to be talking about Three Body Problem. Scribelight will be there with us. He'll be the contrarian who will not agree with anything that Anima and I have to say. It'll be fun. And then Saturday, it's Tom and Gary, Beverly Hills Cop 2. Gonna be a time. It's gonna be a hot time in the old town tonight. Cha-cha.
See,
So,
I actually like the books thing for Three Body, but the adaptations, I just
never read them. Never interested. I'm not interested in anything
Same.
that came out of communist China. I'm not.
Oh, no,
I don't like what they do. I've stopped even watching. Once he defended communism, I won't watch Jackie Chan movies. I just
Oh no,
gave up
no.
on it.
The opening of the book, and this is one of the few things the Netflix series does over the Chinese version, is the entire reason all this shit happens is because of the Cultural Revolution. Because you already saw the series, right?
No, so stop. We're trying to wrap up this show right now, and you're trying to expand it. So let's stop. We'll do this on Friday, my friend.
No,
on
that's
Friday.
the
I need
first
to
thing.
address. Gary admitted to licking Jean-Claude Van Damme last night, and you know what? He really does taste like chicken.
What
my
the?
God.
Well, yeah, in defense, Gary, JCVD does sound like some kind of STD.
It does.
It
It's
does.
like, oh man, I got some JCVD, man. What'd you take for it? Penicillin. Cleared me right up. So, in other words,
The following people are gay.
yeah. So, we are moving on. Gonna end this evening. I hope everybody enjoyed the chat today. I really did. I enjoyed our discussion today. I hope the
We
audience
had a
enjoyed.
good crowd too.
Yeah.
We had
So,
like 50
thank
people
you
at one point.
everybody for hanging out with us and watching this. Hope you enjoyed it. And don't forget, we will be back Friday to discuss the Three Body Problem over on Netflix. And then on Saturday, Tom and I will do a breakdown with our buddies of another great Eddie Murphy comedy, Beverly Hills Cop 2. Not as good as the first one, but still fun. So with that, everybody have a great day today. Shinatsky, thanks for being here. Deleted Scenes, thanks for popping in, buddy. Pat S, as always, you're a wonderful dude and a good friend. Anima, thank you, sweetheart. And Martin, thanks for running the show. And we're out of here, guys. Let's go. Let's get this over with. What? Are you delaying me
Bye,
again?
guys.
What? Oh, okay. So
Hey, hey.
nothing else to add to that? Well,
Just end
Hey,
it. Do
yes,
it. Do
I
it
have,
now.
I have something.
you have something to
I have
add?
some-
Huh?
Yes.
What is it, Martin?
You take a hell of a long time to say goodbye.
Bye,
That's
guys.
it. So,